And some terrible bad luck befell the number 65 motorbike rider, Gilles Hamonique, the Frenchman who arrived at the ramp to ask the commentator in front of the big crowd that had amassed there if anybody could help him with his Honda, because the engine had broken, together with the clutch having a massive problem. Ironically, there was a local Honda dealer in the crowd, and he helped Gilles out. He said, I had a problem with the bike, and the commentator asked the crowd for help after the engine broke. Now we've come here to the workshop, and they managed to replace the clutch and help me with the broken engine. Ironically, there are only 4 of these engines in France, and this local Honda dealer had one of them. There's some luck for you. Very lucky indeed. So day 2 of Dakar 2001 sees us leave France from the overnight halt in Narbonne to the stage just a few kilometers outside of Narbonne at Château Les Tours. It's a place where the World Rally Championship teams regularly test their cars before the long drive down south into Spain. The motorbikes were first off at Château Les Tours this morning, and this is Britain's John Deacon on the works BMW machine. He went literally 10 meters into the stage on the number 6 flat twin BMW, and as you can see, absolutely stopped dead. He tried to roll back out of the stage, down the hill, bump starting the machine there. It failed to bark into life, and John was left with a very, very long wait to try and get the machine back into the stage. He eventually lost 30 minutes after he traced an electrical fault. So terrible, terrible start for Cornwall's John Deacon. A lot of other riders having some slippery and sometimes horizontal moments on the stage.
Le règlement
So then back with the leaders, Richard Sank on his machine, having no problems at all with the KTM up on the top of the hill with the wind farm on the outskirts of Narbonne. Richard Sank came out of the stage to be fastest by a massive 58 seconds, which in a stage which lasted only, for him at least, 31 minutes and 25 seconds is a very, very big margin indeed. Second on day 2 in the stage was the BMW of Juan Roma as the sun rose over the top of the hills. Roma said it was quite difficult with the bike sliding around quite a lot, but he felt very comfortable on the machine and was looking forward to getting into Africa and Morocco. Third today, the Finn, Kari Tainen, he on the KTM, going through the fog, which was actually to cause quite a few problems for a few people, with regards to losing time, that is. So, number 7, Tainen, he was third. Giovanni Sala on the other KTM, he was just a couple of seconds back of Juan Roma. And then number 14, the American Jimmy Campbell being the leading Honda, even though he fell on this slippery right-hander. Fortunately, the machine did not stall and he continued on. So Jimmy Campbell, after his yesterday, is 5th on the stage today. But the big shout-out must go to Christophe Méliat. He on another Honda, similar to that of Jimmy Campbell. He was 10th today from a start number of 87. So there's the rundown of the stage at Château Les Tours. Richard Sank, 56 seconds ahead of the KTM and the Honda. That's the overall standings after 2 stages on Dakar 2001.
wires under the fuel tank were broken, you know.
At the beginning?
Yeah, I do 2 meters and it stops into the special, so, and it's, 2 wires are broken under the tank, and there's no spark, no electrics.
What did you do then?
It changed and repaired it, but it took me 30 minutes to find it, you know, the problem, because, so I'm really pissed off now, you know. It's a really bad way to start, eh? It's not good for...
C'est vrai que c'est bien pour régler un
The ground was stony and a little slippery, but at least it let us know that our bike is good. And it was really a good testing stage for the brakes, and it was pleasant, an enjoyable stage with many people cheering us along our way.
Pas mal donné parce que je me faisais vraiment plaisir, et que le voir comme j'ai transpiré. Et non, mais c'était vraiment super. Puis beaucoup de spectateurs qui nous encourageaient, donc ça faisait vraiment plaisir.
No, it was a very, very nice stage, really, really nice. I remember in '98 it was the same, but more stones in '98. Now it was, I think, with the wet, good traction. But you know, I think for me, I'm not so good in the very tight stuff. I go as fast as I can, and we hope to see what position. I have to see what happens, and I think going into Morocco would be better to start behind a little bit, and hopefully it's going to work for me.
You all are waiting for Morocco.
We're all waiting for Morocco, yeah.
It's a real beginning of the rally.
Yeah, because it's very physical in Morocco, and I think if you are very fast in Morocco in the stones, you can make a lot of time, because it is quite dangerous. Everybody knows, and it's the place, I think, to have a small gap when you go into Mauritania.
In this section. So day 3 sees the crews go from Castellón to Almería. Castellón, a little further north of the city of Valencia. The short special stage, and then the long, long road section all the way down south. But day 3 action actually started late on day 2 with Hubert Oriol, the big boss of the Dakar, having problems with the Spanish Motorcycle Federation with regards to how much the federation was going to charge the Dakar organisers to let the motorcycles run through the stage on day 3. We must stop the motorcycle stage tomorrow because we cannot come to an agreement, he says, with the Spanish Bike Federation, who have asked for too much money for the motorcycles to go in this stage. We had no problem with the Car Federation when we made the route back in September 2000, and as we have a budget to stick to, we cannot extend it. We have waited to the last minute, hoping that the Bike Federation would change with the help of Juan Porca, who is our Dakar Spanish representative, but we are unlucky with the decision that was taken. We regret this decision for the Castellón town, the Spanish drivers and riders, and of course the TV viewers and fans.
Et bien sûr à tous les téléspectateurs et aux aficionados du Dakar en Espagne.
Now what actually happened was that the motorcyclists had to ride the first road section to the start of today's 6-kilometre stage in order to get their time card stamped. They didn't have to do the stage. Some people opted out, but some people did opt to do the 6 kilometres, if only to keep themselves match fit. However, as we can see here, very, very deep sand, giving quite a few problems for some of the riders.
Tout le monde est allé au tas une fois quasiment. Pas moi, mais alors je te dis que j'ai bataillé, garçon.
Là c'est la galère, là il y en a certains qui vont avoir du mal à sortir. Moi je cache pas que les commissaires.
Today was a struggle. I think that some riders had many problems in there and maybe they didn't get to the end. Once or twice the official helped me out of the deep sand, but when I will be in the desert, I will be alone. Here is the quad, number 142, Jose Luis Alvarez, the Spanish star, and, well, he certainly did get stuck into the stage, putting on a show for his home crowd. He got to the finish, and he was happy to be amongst some fellow Spaniards. Celebrations almost going over the top. Therefore, the motorcycles, their overall timings stay as they were after day 2. Sank from Roma, Sala, Tiernan and Campbell. Today's stage, day 4, Nador to Air Rashidia, a road section of 184 kilometers, that's just over 110 miles. The stage itself, 139, and then a long other road section down south to Air Rashidia. Early start for many of the riders as the ship docked after having left Almeria late last night at the end of day 3. 2 ships absolutely jam-packed, full of machinery, both 2-wheel and 4-wheel. The trucks and anything too high had to go on another separate boat. But after they had some kit, the millions and millions of dollars worth of machinery was rolling out into Africa. Richard Sankt on the KTM, off and well and truly flying with the machine. Very, very quick stage today, 139 kilometers of it. And many of the riders coming back into service saying, we just could not go any faster. Richard Sankt went all out today and in doing so won the first African special of the Paris-Dakar 2001, and he won it by a full 1 minute and 14 seconds. There may have been snow on top of those mountains, but it was absolutely white-hot action down on the sand. Second place today was Carlos de Gavado, the Chilean rider, the ex-marathon specialist. 1 minute and 14 seconds behind his teammate Richard Sankt. So KTM 1, KTM 2. Where were the BMWs? Well, we shall catch up with them in a moment. Third today was Mioni on another KTM. The Italian was giving away 1 minute and 27 seconds to Sankt. Sankt really did go very, very quickly indeed. He knows this stage and this area of Morocco very, very well, and really it was a case of the others doing their best to try and limit the damage that Richard Sankt could put into the rest of them. However, it's a 3-week rally. It is very, very early days, and with corners like that, you really have got to follow your road book. Fourth today, South African superstar Alfie Cox on another KTM. He was just another 6 seconds slower than Mioni, therefore fourth overall, with a time of 1 hour, 17 minutes and 34 seconds, giving away 1 minute 33 to Sankt. Alfie saying that he really was in top gear for most of the time, and there's no skill involved about holding the throttle wide open and just getting out of the air and just trying to make yourself as slippery as possible as the air goes over the top of you. So really it was a battle of the machines, and the KTMs were winning. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5th position was taken by KTM on today's 139 kilometer stage. 5th was Tiernan. In the meantime, here is Jordi Arcarons, who was involved is changing a front wheel with the rim well and truly bent. This is on the stage, remember, so time still ticking away. And his KTM teammate soon sacrificing a wheel and away in the distance. Back with the action now. What are the BMWs? Well, Spain's Juan Roma, he was 6th fastest. Therefore, the leading BMW on the stage was 2 minutes and 33 seconds behind Richard Sankt. Roma coming past one of the organisational vehicles and not happy with it either, because that dust really was hanging in the air. Soon getting back onto, well, what you could call the straight and narrow. And the BMWs were having a few tyre problems. Roma's rear tyre, by the time he got to the end of the stage, was pretty well worn out, but not running into the problems that his teammates were having on the other flat twin machines. 7th position, another KTM. Meyer. And he was having problems as well on the number 15 KTM. He was 3 minutes and 52 seconds slower than Richard Sankt. Giovanni Sala, he was 8th fastest on yet another KTM, making it just eventually 2 BMWs inside a top 10 that was ridden with, if that to coin a phrase, by KTMs. Esteve Puyol, yet another KTM, he was 9th fastest. And America's Jimmy Lewis, well, he had a massive problem 20 kilometers before the end of the stage, when the mousse in the rear tyre, that's the anti-deflation mousse, actually got so hot it started to burn and bubble from the inside. And therefore, he had a massive vibration that could really only leave him doing about 40 or 50 kilometers an hour as opposed to 200 kilometers an hour. That is the result from the stage. Sankt from De Gavado, Mioni, Alfie Cox and Tiernan. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. The overall standings, therefore, Richard Sankt has a lead of 3 minutes and 19 seconds. Roma not far back. Very stony stage, but I'm happy. All is good for me. It was a technical stage, but likewise very dangerous too. But it's okay, and let us wait for tomorrow.
Realmente peligroso, era mejor pasarla, hacerla bien sin tomar riesgos y estar aquí entero y a punto para mañana.
Una prima giornata tranquilla.
A quiet first day, a relatively easy stage. I didn't risk anything, so therefore all is okay. The bike is well prepared. We're quite optimistic, but the gap in time is not important now. We'll see about that when we arrive in the desert. That is my preferred type of stage, and I'm looking forward to the other stages.
L'importante sarà arrivare, diciamo, al deserto, alla sabbia, che è il terreno che preferisco, e lì allora cominceremo a fare sul serio e quindi poi si vedrà.
Well, we see a lot about the motorcycle solos, but what about the quad bikes? This is Jose Luis Alvarez. He on the quad. Now, he had a problem, he's explaining, with the gear shift on the left-hand side. And in the end, well, he's just stuck a sausage in it. One of the pins has dropped out, and well, nothing like a bit of dried sausage. And he managed to get to the finish. Quad number 142. We saw him pretty enthusiastic yesterday in front of his home crowd at Castellón, and he proving that he can get to the finish with a piece of dried sausage. Such is the technology. Romance in the desert. Well, the Dakar 2001 well and truly underway. We had 3 stages in Europe, 2 in France and 1 in stage. And this is a quick look back at some bits of action that we missed from day 4. Here is Luc Alphon, the former French downhill ski champion. He's currently 9th overall in his Kangoo Schlesser buggy hybrid machine. Lundmark, the Swedish guy, well, he on motorcycle number 28, continuing to lead the production class. He's 11th overall. And number 22, as we saw yesterday, Francois Flick, 15th overall, the Frenchman there. Of course, the action was getting rougher and rougher, but at least there was a musical welcome for everybody once they had returned to the bivouac, which was in Erashidia in northern Morocco. Stefan Herard in his buggy, and also Pierre Latigue in his Mercedes. Latigue 16th overall, looking forward to getting into the bivouac and getting some sleep and some food inside him to replenish the energies. The quads, well, it was hard work for them as well. Some people had some problems though, not too many retirements yesterday. Well, today's stage, Erashidia down to Orzazate from northern Morocco. Well, we're creeping further south little by little. A road section of just under 60 kilometres, and then the first big special stage, 333 kilometres. That's just over 200 miles, looping round then on another road section into Orzazate. Well, this morning the roadbook was put back by 1 hour after a small mistake with regards to the refueling of the motorcycles before they went into the 200-mile stage this morning. So the roadbook was just plus 1 hour. And here, well, who says that the boss doesn't get involved? Hubert Auriol, the big boss of the Dakar 2001, well, he was certainly getting stuck in, actually refueling the motorcycles himself. And he was saying, well, when I started at my very first job when I was living at home was exactly this. I was a petrol pump attendant. Good to see everybody getting stuck in. The Dakar really is a team involvement.
Je n'ai pas de pièces pour vous donner, mais la prochaine fois.
Hey, tu rigoles, mais c'était mon premier métier, alors.
And well, 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 who says that it hasn't got underway today? It really has. Look at the dunes and the stunning scenery of Morocco. This really is the Dakar getting well and truly underway now. And yes, 333 kilometres, absolutely flat chat. Harry flat as it was for the motorcycles and the cars through the stage. And even though it was an early start, South Africa's star Alfie Cox was caught, well, almost catching a little bit of a nap. Richard Sankt, the French hero, looking forward to getting things underway on his KTM. Kari Tianen, and everybody preparing for the start of 200 miles on a stage just like that. And look, it's quite a hard crust on top of the sun-baked surface, but underneath it was quite soft. But no problems at all for motorcycle number 12, Carlos de Gavado. He was well and truly in the gist of things after a good day on his KTM yesterday, which was day 4. He said that he got behind Richard Sankt and the others, well, they were stuck in the dust behind them. There wasn't too much navigation going on. It was just a question of following Sankt and then making a go for it. And he, of course, pretty well the first South American winner of a stage on the Dakar. Jürgen Mayer, though, on the KTM. Well, he was seen attacking earlier in the stage, but things went absolutely pear-shaped. Later on, he fell hard off his KTM and he pulled the distress beacon that everybody, both four and two wheels, have on the Dakar, and soon the medical helicopter was down on the sand to collect poor Jürgen. Broken collarbone, as you can see, as he arrived back at the bivouac. My goodness me, that is one of the most painful injuries that anybody can get, least of all if you are a motorcycle rider. No relation to Jürgen, but Andrea Mayer, not on a KTM but a BMW, she had a problem, not through falling, but through a seized engine on her BMW flat twin, and she was just left to do nothing else but wait on the roadside and wait for the service truck to come along. Just waiting for the truck, nothing I can do, just a few kilometers away, but I have to wait.
Gehalten, nachgeschaut, alles voller Öl. Und ja, jetzt muss ich den Motor wechseln. Ich werde jetzt den Motor rausnehmen und dann...
Not a good day for BMW as a whole. Britain's John Deacon was fined yesterday after he was caught speeding through a village on the road section. Hubert Oriol indeed standing up in front of all of the competitors last night and saying, listen, if you do speed inside the villages, we will fine you and we will penalise you. Richard Sankt, with the open road ahead of him, no dust to hinder the Frenchman on his KTM today. Just look at those dunes. My goodness me, you can make a hell of a sandcastle out of them. Number one, Richard Sankt, the first really long special for him. And although he said that he had done this stage before, he was still a little apprehensive at times. However, it was not all plain sailing for Sankt. He was about 120 kilometers from the end of the stage when a rock hit the gear shift on the left-hand side of the motorcycle, broke the gear shift completely, and now Sankt was in fourth gear at the time and therefore stuck in fourth all the way to the end of the stage. However, it just proves how quick a stage it was when he said that he only lost a couple of minutes. Can you believe it? Sankt second, and I remind you, to Gavado quickest today. Number 7, the Finnish superstar Tianen. He got a little lost about 50 kilometers before the end of the stage, and then he thought that the bike was running out of fuel. In the end, he thought it was running a little bit rich. Number 2, Juan Roma, 4th overall today on his BMW, therefore 4th behind the first 3 KTMs. Roma had a few problems at the beginning, but luckily for the BMWs today, no problems with their anti-deflation mousse, such as they had problems in their tyres yesterday. Mioni on the other KTM, 15 kilometers before the end of the stage today, the oil warning light came on, pressure of course, or was it lack of oil? In the end, he slowed right down, and by the time he got to the stage finish, he checked the level, but it was fine. Maybe a faulty switch, maybe a faulty sensor, he does not know, but it's better to be safe rather than sorry. This is someone who was sorry yesterday, Jordi Arcarons, although no problems for him today. Arcarons in 7th position. Alfie Cox from South Africa, he was 6th today, stuck in a lot of people's dust, although he did fight hard through it. Esteve Puyol on the number 20 machine. He was 9th overall today, giving away some 11 minutes to the winner of the stage, De Gavado. And the Swede, Lundmark, on the number 28 KTM. He running, of course, in the production class, not the super production class, i.e. the works machinery, the full machinery that is quickest on the stage. Just look how rocky it was, and just look at what a battering those rear tyres get on the motorcycle over the sun-baked surface here in Morocco. So there you have a rundown. South America dominant today with Carlos de Gavado on his KTM. The Chilean rider just 21 seconds faster than Sankt, only losing 21 seconds after being stuck in gear. My goodness me, what could the Frenchman have done? Well, the answer is he's still leading overall. De Gavado second, Tiernan third, Roma and Mioni.
Bien, muy bien. Fue una etapa muy rápida, con mucha roca.
It was a good stage, but it was a very fast stage with a lot of stones and dunes at the end.
Y bien, muy contento.
It was a very hot surface, and my bike is okay, it's well prepared, and I was very quick today.
Est-ce qu'il a cru qu'il pouvait rattraper Sankt?
You think that you can catch Richard Sankt, was the question?
Llegar hasta Richard. Ustedes son periodistas. ¿Cómo atraparlo?
Sí, atraparlo.
Bueno,
we do not really have the same targets, he says. He wants to win the Dakar outright, but for me, well, I would really only want to aim at finishing at least inside the top 5. And I believe that we have a motorbike to do that with our KTM. It's a good machine. It was good at the beginning, but in the middle of the stage, I broke my gear selector. My gearbox was in 4th gear at that time, and therefore I had to finish the stage in that gear. Sometimes it was difficult, and I had to slip the clutch, but other times it was good.
Combien de secondes de décalage d'arrivée?
Je crois qu'il est arrivé 20 secondes derrière moi.
Is the gap between you and de Gavado very important, was the question? No, and I think that it's not too important, really. I'm happy because I could have lost more time, but it's okay. It was really a good day. Raymond Loiseau, former runner in the motorcycle section of the Dakar for 20 years, is not riding this year. However, he's still involved. He's helping out in 2 capacities. My name is Raymond Loiseau, and I have done 20 Dakars, and I didn't really want to do another one this year. However, ASO, they got me on board as a liaison officer for the motorcyclists. And I'm happy to help out. For example, here he introduces us to a winner of the Mongolian rally raid, and everybody knows him, and he's helping out the motorcyclists from a roadbook point of view, from a logistical point of view. Asking DAP here. Raymond Loiseau is easy to work with. He's always smiling, but now he's part of another world. But he's always easygoing, as indeed he was before. Now, Raymond is also helping out on the other side of things for BMW. He is assisting Didier P with the BMW 650 machine to bring it towards the production car class such as KTM have. It's a completely normal 650 prepared by Touratech, the German preparation shop, he says here. They've added a rally raid kit, for example, a large fuel tank, and also all the GPS fittings as well, so that they can read them easily. It's a very quick machine and very easy to ride. Nothing can test a motorcycle like a real event, and of course a real event is such as the Dakar. It's a fantastic machine, and I'm happy to be involved. Just looking back at what happened yesterday, the second day in Africa for Dakar 2001. And many of the competitors coming into the bivouac saying how many people there were out on the stage. Trouble is, it's 8 o'clock in the morning, says this TV crew, and we're stuck in the sand. This is certainly not part of the plan. Well, bad luck befalls many people on the Dakar. As you can see on the right-hand side, here is number 307. This is Koen Waters, a Belgian pop star who is driving in the Dakar. You can see what conditions he had to contend with. Sand beginning to get everywhere. Number 218, Jean-Francois Guinaud. Stuck in the sand, and even congratulating the locals for helping him. But as you can see, the rear wheels spinning, not the front. He says here, two-wheel drive only since the stage start this morning. We got through the dunes, very similar to this, but, well, we didn't quite get through this particular one. The pain and the anguish beginning to eke its way into many of the competitors. Can you come over and help, says Jean-Pierre Cassegrain. He said that there was a truck behind him that was struggling to get through his dust, and yet the truck, or the other vehicle, he didn't really see what actually nudged his rear bumper and therefore put him into a roll in his Mitsubishi. He was obviously not impressed. Terrible luck though for Spain's Manuel Plava Perez in his Nissan. As you can see, the drive shaft in the diff end broken, CV joint gone. He says it's impossible to repair here, and I really do just have to wait for my service truck. Dakar is a very, very emotional sporting event. Well, the winner of the motorcycle section yesterday on day 5 was Chile's Carlos de Gavado on his number 12 KTM. He began in 1996, and indeed he was a class winner in the marathon class in 98 and 99. Very, very unassuming guy. He was given a works ride on the full works machinery by KTM after his stunning performances last year in the Egypt Rally, the Master Rally and Dubai.
That's why I know. I don't know. It's very nice, and I'm very happy because I always push to the limit the other motorcycle.
Very, very sympathetic to his machinery.
Very nice work from my mechanic. All my sponsors, my country. This is the first Chilean that win this is first South American that win a rally, special of the Paris-Dakar. It's fantastic.
One of the most amazing stories with regards to his family is that back in 1996, Carlos's father followed the rally by taxi.
And make the road book for tomorrow.
In the bivouac last night, Carlos keen to prepare his roadbook and get his tent up right next to the service area, and indeed working away on his roadbook immediately, highlighting the potential dangers.
Carlos,
hello.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good day for you, huh?
Yeah, it's very nice, and very happy, but at the same moment I'm very
I know. Yes. You are reasonable, no problem.
Yeah.
That's the kind of story we love on the Dakar, because he's not only a good driver, he's a kind of human hero for us. Okay. Good luck.
Thank you.
Bye.
Well, the stage today from Osaste down to Guillemine. Osaste at a height of 1,153 meters. And now, after the stage of just over 300 kilometers, down to the finish at Guillemine, and obviously a lot lower, closer to the sea.
Sorry, because I have this.
New language.
Alfie Cox's birthday today.
Paljon onnea, Alfie.
Feliz cumpleaños para Alfie.
Saying in Finnish, happy birthday.
De trabajo para él.
Judy Arcaron saying happy birthday, maybe he'll win the stage today.
Mejor alguien le deja ganar la etapa. Sería un buen regalo para él.
Alfie, tanti auguri. Happy birthday.
Alfie oggi compie gli anni.
Mione saying, well, 38 years old for Alfie is not as much as I am, because I'm 43. Therefore, he has a few more years to win the Dakar. Happy birthday.
Quindi ha del tempo. Beato lui, ancora ha vari anni da sfruttare. Buon compleanno, Alfie.
Ouais, je lui souhaite bon anniversaire. On lui a
Richard
déjà
saying happy birthday. We wish him well, but we will not give him any gifts, particularly on the stage.
Mais bon, on va pas lui donner si facilement que ça quand même.
38 years old, eh?
Yeah,
It's not so bad. Any wishes? Always to win the Dakar, but just to have a good day and to come to Dakar safely. That's my wishes. And
You don't think you are too old for that game?
not Mione's 43 years old, and cannot be too old.
I was joking.
No, you're joking. No. I wish to come to the Dakar safe and have a good day today, and I think about my family at home.
Well, at dawn this morning, the South African TV crew gave Alfie a birthday cake, even if it was only a Mars bar with a candle shoved in it. Happy birthday, Alfie, from all on the Dakar 2001. Well, the celebrations didn't last long for Alfie Cox at the bivouac, even before the sun had risen, because soon everybody was on the 305-kilometre stage. Juan Roma on BMW Flat Twin number 2. The Spanish rider, quickest on today's stage, with a time of 3 hours, 13 minutes and 39 seconds. And concerns about an introduction by the Dakar organisers last night about the refuelling points along the route for the motorcycles. Normally, when they enter the area for refueling, the time is neutralised, but not today. Therefore, the BMWs took a lot of fuel on board to try and avoid stopping. Here we speak with Les Diallo, the Senegalese rider. He says this is a testing stage. Very testing indeed for the legs. But we have to go, well, not maximum fast, but swiftly over the stones. You have to be very aware, otherwise they will catch you out. So just to repeat, many of the motorcycles taking a lot of fuel on board to avoid losing time at the control point. Bad luck for Christian de Keet on number 116, falling in front of our cameras here. He says, I think I've broken my foot. Also, number 108 not finishing today. He has fractured both his hands. That is rider number 108, Albert Batalla from Spain. Back with the action though. Sankt and De Gavado were battling it out. Richard Sankt passing Carlos De Gavado in what many other people have termed quite a risky manoeuvre on the right-hand side for Richard Sankt, but he got through cleanly to be second overall on the stage today, just 22 seconds behind Juan Roma. And likewise, also 22 seconds back was Finland's Kari Tiainen, dead level second. So Roma first, Sank second, Tiainen equals second, fourth on the stage today. The winner from yesterday, Chile's Carlos De Gavado. Very, very sympathetic rider. He did 3 rallies last year on a production machine that didn't even need to change a single part. Well, happy birthday for South African birthday boy Alfie Cox on number 9 KTM, 5th on the stage today to retain his 5th position overall. He was 2 minutes and 6 seconds back of Juan Roma, buoyed on by the South African TV crew, giving him at least some sort of a birthday cake very early this morning. Jordi Arcaron, 6th today on yet another KTM, whilst Fabrizio Mioni, he was 7th today to be 6th overall after day 6 of Dakar 2001. Esteve Puyol from Spain completes and adds to KTM's domination inside the top 10, but remember the BMW's won today with Chroma. PG Lundmark, brilliant effort from him today to be 10th on his production machine, but a terrible day for America's Jimmy Lewis after a 70-mile-an-hour tumble yesterday in which he said he went over the handlebars and he really did feel like a rag doll. His left hand is really bruised, and indeed he was struggling to pull in the clutch by the time he got to the finish, nearly actually running over one of the marshals. He's in a very, very bad way. Lewis was 13th today, losing 16 minutes. Roma winning from Sankt, from Tiernan, from De Gavado and Alfie Cox. Sankt leads overall from Finland's Tiernan. Juan Roma the winner today, 3rd overall. De Gavado 4th. South African Alfie Cox 5th. Richard Sankt saying here, we were on a very stony stage, but after 20 kilometers, I went for him. He means De Gavado. I tried to overtake him, but on these roads, you cannot go onto the edges because of the big stones that line the road. Then I went very close to him, and I was obliged to refrain. I eventually followed him for about 60 kilometers like that, and finally I found a way through on the road, and I could overtake him.
I hit just a little bump. It was a normal bump, and I did a pretty big crash at probably pretty high speed. And I think when I landed, I hit my wrists on the ground, and I thought they were both broken. I mean, I could barely hold on, and I kind of milked it into the end of the finish and was able to come into the bivouac, and then we, had it checked out by a few doctors, and they're not broken, so, but they're sore, really sore. So I just kind of maintained, just kept going today. So it's a long race, and maybe the next few days they get better.
So today it was difficult.
It was rough and bumpy, and I felt every bump in a bad way. But it was a fast stage. It was actually the worst stage for our bikes, for the BMWs. But obviously, since Nanny wins it, it shows you that our bikes are doing pretty good. This was a perfect KTM stage. So it was. I can't wait till we get out in the real desert.
It's a straight road from there to here with big stones, and you cannot go left or right to overtake. It was just you had to keep cool today, and I think it was a waste of a day.
For your birthday, it was not so funny.
It was terrible, really, really terrible. But anyway, that's the racing, and one position better than yesterday, but not good.
Amazing story today on the Dakar 2001 with a Swiss cyclist who left home 7 years ago. He's already completed 114,000 kilometers, encompassing 58 countries.
Je fais le tour du monde à vélo là depuis 7 ans. Je viens de la Suisse et bon, j'ai traversé 58 pays là, j'ai pédalé 114 000 km à travers l'Europe, l'Asie, les Amériques et l'Afrique. Donc je vais terminer en mars.
He said he's been through Eastern Europe.
Sur ma route du retour sur Genève en Suisse. Voilà.
And then to Alaska, all the way down to Argentina. Finally took a plane to South Africa. Now in Morocco, he hopes to be home in 3 months' time, back in his hometown of Geneva. Today's stage down to Smara, the last full day in Morocco, a road section of just over 30 miles, that's 53 kilometers, a big special stage, 420 kilometers, the first third of which was quite rocky, and from then on it was quite quick. And then the first service where the airborne mechanics are allowed to work. This is Esteve Pujol. A new and very fast stage, but I hope there'll be no dust, as there was yesterday. We are lucky with the windy conditions this morning, as it looks on the roadbook at least that it may be too difficult to overtake if it is very dusty. A lot of the riders coming into the bivouac last night saying that their engines were running rich because the air filters had blocked up and essentially the engine couldn't breathe. Well, Esteve Pujol got through the stage today in just over 4 hours and 2 minutes, and essentially he did the whole of the stage alone. Well, that was the first part at least. However, this is Richard Sanct arriving at the now not neutralized fueling points, and the guy in the red jacket just not ready for the arrival of Richard. The fuel not ready to be pumped into the motorcycles. Of course, the motorcycles have much smaller fuel tanks than the cars, and it's a disaster, says Esteve Pujol. I arrive and the guys are not prepared, and I'm wasting time. I've ridden so fast, and in the end, actually, one of the Dakar organisers from the TV crew gets stuck in, pouring the fuel in through the big funnel. Look at the wind blowing the fuel across. It's just like a 1930s refueling stop at a Grand Prix. But soon Pujol speeds out of the refueling section and on his way. Very, very angry indeed was the Spaniard. This is Frédéric Moncassin, the former Tour de France cyclist, having quite a big spill. But you'll be glad to know, ladies and gentlemen, he was up on his feet within seconds. He was okay. How do they do it? This is the top 6 on the stage today, going underneath our webcam on the side of the helicopter. And just look at how dusty the conditions are, but fortunately the wind blowing the dust away. Fabrizio Mioni, second on the stage today, only 40 seconds behind Esteve Pujol in a stage lasting over 4 hours. The Italian second overall after day 7 of Dakar 2001. Sweden's PG Lundmark running, of course, in the production motorcycle class. Not a full works machine for him, and his absolutely smooth, fine and flowing style working wonders, even though he dented an exhaust and he decided to raise the ride height for tomorrow's stage. Jordi Arcarons, he was 4th today, 1 minute and 53 back of Esteve Pujol. France's Richard Sanct, he was also rattled by the refueling problems and soon sped past number 3 KTM of Fabrizio Mioni in, well, yet another risky manoeuvre by Sanct. However, Sanct was now leading without having the 2 exhaust pipes of Mioni to follow. And in the end, Richard Sanct actually made a mistake and went wrong just before a control point, and in the end had to attack the control point from the other way. You may remember that Jean-Louis Schlesser did that the other day. Here is Juan Roma. Roma 6th today, 3rd overall. Carlos de Gavado, the winner from a couple of days ago, 7th on his KTM today, 7 minutes and 14 seconds back. Birthday boy the day before, Alfie Cox, had a terrible day today. 47th on the stage, losing 1 hour and 22 minutes. The South African hero buckled a front wheel. He waited for his teammate to come along and sacrifice a front wheel of his own, but in the end he didn't turn up, and Alfie had to struggle through the rest of the stage by botching the spokes together, with pieces of string and pieces of tie wrap. A quite ingenious way to get to the finish, but he has lost time. This is Sala nearly going off the road, not only once, but twice. And this is Dupre on his BMW. And he bent a torque arm. Remember that the BMW's shaft driven. He bent a torque arm and eventually had to get the stones in to try and bend it back. Britain's John Deacon had a terrible couple of moments through the rough stuff. Went past a lot of riders, but then broke down. He also passed Tiernan, who also had some engine problems. Cyril Desprez having problems on his BMW as well. America's Jimmy Lewis continued on and only lost 16 minutes today, with still a very, very sore left hand after his big crash a couple of days ago. That is the stage then. Esteve Pujol, just over 4 hours and 2 minutes to complete the section ahead of Mioni. Lundmark, what a result that is, in third. And then overall, Richard Sankt from Fabrizio Mioni, Roma, De Gavado and Esteve Pujol. Esteve Pujol, fifth on the stage today. I'm happy because the conditions were very similar to yesterday. Esteve Pujol, sorry, the winner today. It was difficult to overtake, but I was near to the leaders, and at the refueling stop, the man made a mistake and forgot to refuel me completely. My machine didn't work perfectly, and I maybe could have done even better.
Yo creo que el tema del repostaje tiene que volver a ser como los años atrás.
Unfortunately, just before the first CP, I was in the dust behind Mioni, and as I was coming to pass him, there was a big stone, and boom, I smashed the front wheel. And I thought John Brucey was close behind our mechanic rider, and he never came after half an hour. I had to fix the wheel myself, and you know, trying to come with a broken wheel, there's big risk to go at high speed, and I've had to stop and fix the wheel 2-3 times along the way, and I've lost a lot of time.
Frédéric Moncassin, winner of stages on the Tour de France, but only in 1996, and indeed leading overall the Tour de France, the biggest and the best cycle race in the world, is now doing the Dakar. Having said that, once he gets to the bivouac, Moncassin finding time to, well, get in a little bit of training. The cycle is a passion for me. I discovered cycling when 3.5 years old, when my father did trials and took me along with him. He had a 350 Bultaco, and maybe this is the reason why I am involved on two wheels. The bike is very difficult because the fitness of the rider and the competitiveness of the bike is very difficult rather than the fitness of just me on a cycle on a stage of the Tour de France.
The Dakar Rally certainly is a story of man and machine against the elements, a story of human endeavor. Every single morning, the competitors must drag themselves exhausted out of their beds and head off on another 600-kilometer stage, racing against each other, racing against time, and of course racing against those elements. Now, the shifting sands of the Sahara Desert are millions of centuries old, but time is all important to each of these competitors as they fight it out in those sand dunes. Now, if you get lost in those sand dunes, of course the results could be disastrous. Now, disastrous could also turn into tragedy because you may never be found out in the middle of the desert. The competitors, of course, have got some aid and a way of not getting lost. Alfie Cox standing here with his KTM. Alfie, just tell me about the road book. Just take us through the road book and how it does actually work.
All right, Dave, every day, this is basically what my dashboard looks like. This is the road book that we're given in the evening as we arrive at the bivouac. And as you can see, our highlight, when there's a big direction change, that's the course we're going there. That is obviously a danger. When there's an exclamation mark at 2, one of those things at high speed, you finish. So those are very, very important. That's why you always make it in red. My trip master is telling me the time, the speed, and the distance that I'm going at. The trip master and the road book I've got to keep in synchronization all day. The 2 GPSs, we only run 2 GPSs because you have to have a backup. I mean, it can fail. It's electronic things electronic things can fail. It's always better to have 2 GPS, especially when you're out in the desert. I mean, never can they...
Work? Tell us about the GPS.
Well, what happens is it's already pre-programmed. The organizers have pre-programmed, and every evening they will give us a code. We punch the code into the GPS, and it brings up the next day's stage. And there's an arrow indicator. We put it on to navigate, and all we do is watch the compass bearing, which we have. I've got a big one up top here, just to see the big letters, because to look down at the little letters on the screen of the GPS is sometimes difficult when the sun is at a different angle. So the compass bearing is very important. The GPS indicator is important, but never will you not be found in the desert with the Dakar organization. In front of the bike here we have a thing called a distress beacon, which if I've had a big crash or I've broken down, I pull out this little beacon, and if I've had an injury that I cannot do it, the next competitor that arrives has to take out the beacon, switch it on, and within 20 minutes or half an hour they'll be there to pick you up.
Okay, just to take us through the road book, obviously you can't be turning this thing by hand as you're going along. Just show us how that actually works.
Here's the left-hand thumb works the road book. As you can see, I'll scroll it up and down how I want to see what's doing. These three buttons here change my trip master. I've just changed it there now. Back to the speed. And if I want to speed it up, I can push this little button. If I want to slow it down, I'll push this button. Because what happens is you might be 500 meters out, and you keep having to correct the trip master and the road book to keep it in synchronization for those terrible dangers that they have out there.
600 Ks a day. Seconds absolutely count. You're doing 190 Ks per hour. How the hell do you focus on all of this and on the road in front of you?
Okay, well, a lot of it is experience. As you do more and more rallies, so you have to look at the road book fewer times. And at the moment now, I only have to glance down at the next 2 pictures. Tell myself there's a danger coming up, remember the kilometer, but also watch the compass bearing. And it's just, practice makes perfect, obviously, and in the beginning, you're like a gibbering idiot. You're down and up, and, you know, the worst part about these rallies is normally something happens when you're looking at the road book. You hit something with the front wheel, or you haven't seen a hole. That's where most of the accidents happen, looking at the road book. So once you can program yourself to just glance down at it, sort of just take your eyes off the road, look down, and then back on the road again, because obviously things are happening at a hell of a speed.
Alfie, thanks very much for that information. So that's how it works. Don't get lost in the desert. That's the secret to this race. Don't lose any time out there. You do that for 3 solid weeks, you might just win the Paris-Dakar.
Between Morocco and Mauritania coming into sport. The Dakar 2001, though, is well and truly underway. And the images that we have seen so far throughout the rally striking a chord with many people. Frederic Moncassin feeling the Dakar in more ways than one. The former maillot jaune in the Tour de France, having a big off, but fortunately, okay.
En fait, j'ai glissé de l'avant, je suis parti
Says here, I went over the top.
Bonne gamelle.
C'est la première?
Ouais,
crash?
ouais, c'est la première.
Yeah, he says it's first crash, but hopefully my last. Speaking here with Antoine Morels. Says, how do you like this stage? He said, well, it's very good, and I'm 50 years old, but I'm keeping many of the younger guys behind me. It's a good day today. No problems yesterday, but okay today. Some sand, and it's very fast indeed. The dust is a problem? He says, yeah, the dust is a problem.
Mais ça va très très bien là, c'est sablonneux, c'est tout ce qu'on veut. C'est très roulant aujourd'hui.
Sala on the side of the road with his KTM. And as you will see, the trailing arm absolutely shattered.
Difficile riparare, praticamente 10 chilometri da qua.
He said about 10 kilometers before this spot, I felt the arm have a problem, but I tried to keep going, but in the end, as you can see, it has broken completely. And I'm just going to have to wait for my truck to arrive and give me some assistance. So the biggest stage of Dakar 2001 sees the crews go from southern Morocco, Smara into Mauritania. At the end of it, we'll see the crews cross the 2 kilometre long stretch of the Erg de Maktir. Very, very difficult series of dunes. One M to another M, Morocco to Mauritania, as the border looms on the horizon for the crews that left this morning. And here is PG Lundmark, the Swedish rider in the production class. And if you're wondering where his motorcycle is, well, it's a little bit out of shot. He's lost the chain off the machine, and as you can see, he's wandering around trying to find it, and there he catches a glimpse of it, not carrying a spare chain with him, and then running back in the early morning light to get to the machine and put it back on.
English? Yes. The chain is broken and I lose my third and fourth gear too. So I'm in big problem. This night the KTM truck's coming so late. I have one spare engine, but it's I think it's coming around 2 o'clock or something in the morning. So I know what I'm going to do this night. Shit!
Here we see Francois Flick towing Esteve Puyol after Puyol had run out of fuel. Eventually getting to the refueling stop. Hard work indeed. Francois Flick eventually continuing on today to finish 10th on the stage on his number 22 KTM, completing the stage in a time of 5 hours and 46 minutes. The battle up front, though, was between Juan Nani Roma, Fabrizio Mioni and Richard Sanks, the trio of them going through the desert. Richard Sanks eventually getting to the finish of the stage in 5 hours and 19 minutes and over some very, very steep dunes indeed. Go over those too fast and you really will go over the top of the handlebars. Richard Sank said, giving how fast it was, it didn't turn out too badly today, but he thought that the BMWs would take more time off the KTMs than they eventually did. Tomorrow, he thinks the same will be true. They have just got to limit the damage. South African star Alfie Cox said it was very, very quick, particularly once they crossed into Mauritania. He must have done 600 kilometers in 5 hours. And he also surprised that BMW didn't take more time off the KTMs. Mioni on the left, Roma on the right, and Roma with the blue machine catching Mioni. Spaniard past the Italian and into the distance. Mioni continues on. Mioni fourth today, just behind South Africa's Alfie Cox, who was third. A good day for Cox. Jordi Arcarons, fifth position on the stage today, giving away just under 9.5 minutes to stage winner Roma. And Arcarons fourth overall. Britain's John Deacon having a better day today after what he said in the Dakar so far. He's almost had as much bad luck in one Dakar as all of his previous ones, but he on his 900cc flat twin BMW. Deacon getting to the finish in 6th today on the stage, 10th overall. American Jimmy Lewis still having problems with his hands. He dropped the bike today and he couldn't pick it up. They don't hurt, he says, just weak. Carlos de Gavado, 8th on the stage today with his KTM in the middle of nowhere. Now here is Juan Roma approaching the finish, well ahead on time, approaching what essentially is the end of 383 kilometers of rough and sometimes smooth desert riding. But Roma approaching the end of the stage from actually the wrong direction. But of course, as long as you enter the final control zone through the last 300 meters, then you are okay. Look for the white boards on the right-hand side. He has to go the correct way into those boards. Does the right-hand turn over the rocks. Now he goes through the first set of boards. Then there'll be a space of 100 meters. Then another set past the red board, and then he can go to the finish and get his time card stamped. Eventually with a time of 5 hours, 16 minutes and 41 seconds. Roma victorious on the stage today, 2nd overall. Speed limits are in force on the road sections, but with no specific speed limits for many of the places the Dakar goes through. It's just a question of reasonable speed for all of the competitors.
Le 200 est passé à 65.
Number 200, that's Schlesser, 65 kilometers an hour. A reasonable speed. It might be 50, it might be 60, it might be 70. It is a qualitative judgment. Some people are getting caught out. Many children are here in the village, and we have to be seen to slow the drivers, otherwise they get a fine of $1,000 US. Any money that we do take off them, though, it does go to charity. Watch your speed. Now, yesterday, the biggest stage of the rally, 619 kilometers. That is a distance of 383 miles, which is similar to driving from Los Angeles to San Francisco or Johannesburg to Durban, except this is not any motorway. This is the Sahara Desert at its best, or is it the worst for some of the competitors out there? Frenchman Jean-Pierre Strugo here. In his Mercedes, and the co-driver saying, well, just cut the air conditioning and that'll give a little more power to drive the wheels rather than wasted energy whilst we've got the windows open. Here he is reversing up to motorcycle number 25. This is Luc Graiwoda, who's actually 90th overall, who is stuck in the sand. So everybody helping out each other on the Dakar.
Vas-y. Prends avec moi celui qui l'ont.
No time for a holiday on the beach whilst you're out there under the blazing sunshine. And of course a run up to some of the dunes, absolutely essential as long as you get over the top. Luc Alphonse having problems. Here's Pierre Lartigue. He says it was really boring over the dunes and all the sand, and I'm very, very tired indeed. Now here is poor Thierry Pic, the motorcycle rider, who had an accident yesterday. He says, I feel no pain, but after I said to you that I hadn't fallen, then I've gone and fallen today. I was just off the road and I fell after hitting a rock, sending me over the top of the bars. I'm okay, but I think that I'll stop playing with fire. It was a good adventure, but I'm now going to turn the page. And as the sun set on the bivouac, it was a bivouac that was still awaiting many of the competitors still out on the monster stage. Here is Sven Quant, 76th overall, stuck in the sand. Letting the pressures down to try and give a bigger footprint of the vehicle into the sand. Many people helping each other. Scratch my back, scratch yours. But no drive to this rear wheel. Some sort of a problem. Likewise, massive problem for Luc Alphonse in his Schlesser-built Kangoo. This rider telling us it's midnight and I've been 15 hours on a motorcycle today. A very big day and a very hard one, but we are here for that. I just want to say to my wife one thing. I don't know that it was a good idea, but today was very hard. I just thought it would never, ever end. This rider telling us in the bivouac, in the end it took me 2 hours just to get through the last 2 kilometers with no electric starter on the bike. I have a problem to kick-start the bike as I cannot steady it with my left leg at the same time as I have weak knee ligaments. I stopped a car in the end to get them to start the motorcycle for me after the electric starter problem. I'm dying, but I'm here. Now this was not yesterday, but very early this morning. Alain Thuliez saying to us, and journalist asking, are you just arriving? Are you tired? Yes, he says. 24 hours to do the stage. So then a looping stage from El Halawaya, round back to the same venue, measuring 518 kilometers in length. Essentially, it is like a yacht race, except that the floating buoys have been replaced by 1, 2, and 3 control points. Seeing the sunshine early this morning, but of course some of them without having had a minute's sleep after arriving early on. PG Lundmark, the Swedish rider, on his production machine after having lost his chain yesterday, you will remember in our footage. He was wheeling for Sweden. Hejas Verja, as they say in Scandinavia. Meanwhile, the leading 6 in the motorcycle section for Dakar 2001 were certainly in business, following each other and helping each other over the dunes, not really getting away from each other. Britain's John Deacon having a fall there and having to push up the machine the difficult way, uphill rather than the other way. And here all sorts of other action as the riders then fall. Next one to go down, Spain's Juan Roma on his sister machine to that of Deacon. Eventually he has to go back down the dune momentarily, do a U-turn, and then get some momentum up and charge back into it. Top 7 riders battling it out relatively easily, but by the time they got to the finish, Spain's Esteve Pujol was quickest of all in a time of 5 hours, 22 minutes and 33 seconds, but not without incident. The rocks on the stage got progressively bigger and bigger and bigger, but Pujol was quickest over all of them. Second today, Italy's Giovanni Sala on yet another KTM. However, Sala back down in 23rd position overall this evening after the problems that befell his swing arm the other day. Third on the stage, Chile's Carlos de Gavado. He was nearly 3 minutes back of the winner, Pujol. Britain's John Deacon on the number 6 flat twin BMW. The leading BMW on the stage, and remember that these BMWs carrying an extra 25 kilograms because they are twin-cylinder machines rather than the single KTMs. Deacon 10th overall. And at the refueling points, remember that there is no neutralization of time at the refueling points, so the Paris-Dakar officials guiding the riders in as quick as possible. Self-service in the middle of the desert. No club card points here. Jordi Arcaron's quickly away. Likewise, Nani Roma. Likewise, Mioni. Italy's Fabrizio Mioni, 5th on the stage today with his KTM. He was 5 minutes and 51 seconds back of Esteve Pujol. And he, of course, opening the stage today, and it was difficult for him to go quickly. Jordi Arcaron's 6th today. But what about the rookies on the Dakar? They are experiencing the dunes for their very first time, and some of them taking it better than others. Johnny Campbell with his single-cylinder Honda doing a sterling job indeed. He was 15th today, 34 minutes back, but a good job from Johnny on his rookie Dakar. South Africa's Alfie Cox was 7th today, but he broke his chain 170 kilometres in, and actually when he caught up the leaders saying that they were riding like grannies. Here we see France's Francois Blick, 8th behind Alfie Cox. And likewise, what about Richard Sankt, the #1 hero, nearly having a moment on his #1 machine. Well, he was 9th on the stage today, nearly 9 minutes back of Esteve Pujol. Sankt took the wrong road with Roma, but in the end, they finished at the control point together. Sankt falling. And was that steam coming out of the machine? In the end, it was Pujol that was quickest. From Sala, Dugavado 3rd, John Deacon in 4th, and Fabrizio Mioni in 5th position. 5 hours, 22 minutes and 33 seconds to do the stage. And overall, in the standings, that therefore leads Richard Sankt ahead of Mioni, Roma, Arcarons and Dugavado. So then, the stage from Kalawaya down to Attar, stage of 435 kilometres with a very short road section of just 5 kilometres. That's 3 miles before they have a couple of nights in the same venue at least. The rest day is tomorrow. The second rotation of flying mechanics as well. And no time to do much sightseeing this morning as the sun rose over the dunes for day 10, stage 10 of the Dakar 2001. The motorcycles first off as always. And just look at it. A picture says 1,000 words, and even the top 3 were getting stuck out there, sinking just like quicksand. Jordi Arcaron's getting stuck, but eventually getting it rolling and up and moving. The dust, a big problem today, causing some people's machines to run a little rich as the air filters had completely blocked up with dust, therefore strangling the engine. Juan Roma, 6 kilometres into today's 435 kilometre stage, had a relatively slow accident when the front wheel just went into a hole and Nani went over the top and the bike clipped him when he landed on the floor.
He salido y había mucho polvo, pero en un momento he visto a Richard que...
He said that the front wheel just went in, I went over the top and the bike just clipped me on the way down. Only a small, low-speed accident of around 40 kilometers an hour. I'm out of the rally.
Sí, me duele mucho la pierna y no sé si hay algo roto. Bueno, pero es más, me duele más la moral que la pierna, ¿sabes?
Roma helicoptered out. Machine looking very forlorn indeed, but no such luck for Richard Sankt, who was also out. I'm not very lucky because this engine was due to be changed
Il a lâché d'un coup.
Tomorrow, on the rest day at Attar.
C'est vraiment dommage parce qu'on arrivait à la journée de repos.
This is the first engine problem
La journée où on devait changer le
that
moteur.
our team
Le moteur
has
a
had
été du rallye.
on this rally.
Sur les 7 motos en course, il n'y en a aucun qui a cassé et malheureusement, il y en a qui cassent.
And it's very unfortunate that it happened to me.
Je dirais c'est comme ça quoi. Hein. Je veux dire, il faut faire avec.
Well, therefore, the other runners had to just compete away into the distance, but victorious today was South African hero Alfie Cox on his number 9 KTM. He was absolutely loving it, and even having time to turn the roebuck when on some of the quick sections. Cox victorious eventually by just under a minute ahead of KTM teammate Jordi Arcaron. Cox saying that once through the rocky section and it was so quick, he's saying it was just like a road race, absolutely flat out. He really enjoyed it. He was grinning like a Cheshire cat once he had returned to the finish of the stage at Attar. So Cox quickest, Arcaron's second today, and third was Italy's Fabrizio Mioni. Not an easy day for him after his shoulder began to hurt a couple of days ago. Today it was okay. However, he only filled the front tanks this morning, and that made the front end a little front heavy rather than balancing it out by filling the rears. Mioni falling there momentarily. And he indeed warned Nanni Roma not to overdo it only a couple of days ago, because Roma was going so caution to the wind on his heavier BMW. Kari Tiernan, he was on the scene when Roma fell early this morning, and indeed Tiernan and Desprez lifted Roma out of the immediate danger of any following riders. Esteve Pujol, he was fifth behind fourth place Kari Tiernan from Finland. Pujol making it a top 5 clean sweep for the KTMs on the Dakar today. Well, what of the BMW challenge towards KTM? The answer is it was left to John Deacon today. The Brit was saying, well, he was just happy to arrive at Attar. Previous couple of times that he has arrived here. Once he has been in an ambulance, and once he has been not too well because of a crash. Just happy to be here in one piece. So Deacon, the leading BMW today, in 6th place. 7th today, Carlos de Gavado on his KTM. De Gavado here suffering with a puncture as Giovanni Sala comes up alongside him. Sala stopping, and the pair of them changing the rear wheel for that of de Gavado. So de Gavado getting the good wheel. And you can see Kari Tiernan just arriving on the left-hand side of the screen there at the back. All hands on deck for KTM. So de Gavado 7th, including that puncture. And PG Lundmark on his production machine, 8th today. The Swede, of course, so hamstrung overall after the chain and gearbox problems he had a couple of days ago. Francois Flick, 9th position for him, and leading the amateur section. Overall, sponsored by Yako. The results then, victorious South African Alfie Cox, a minute ahead of Spaniard Arcarons, Italy's Mioni, Finland's Tiernan, and Spain's Esteve Pujol. Overall, Mioni now leads from Arcarons, de Gavado, Esteve Pujol, Cox now 5th. Here, Fabrizio Mioni, he says it was a very hard stage with a lot of soft sand. We went together with Alfie and Jordi, and I stopped a couple of times with Alfie, who helped me pick up the bike. In the past, before the second control point, I went with the riders ahead and then raced well, and it's important to be safe and well positioned before the rest day. This year, my target is to get to Dakar, but the race is very, very long indeed.
Today was the real Dakar. I mean, we've had very big dunes, soft sand. It's been a very difficult day, and the other days have not been difficult at all, and today was really a very difficult day for the Dakar. So I think many riders are going to have problems today, and you know, my job was to stay with Jordi and Fabrizio to look for them, and we've pushed each other the whole way, and we've done a good time today, and maybe the time is going to change. Who's the leader? And Fabrizio could have a chance if Richard Sainz doesn't come quickly. And, it's been a very good day. I've enjoyed it.
You know, for Nani Roma is breaking his leg.
Nani Roma broke his leg. Oh, that is too sad. Oh. Okay, that's not so good.
J'ai un petit problème de fuite à mon réservoir additionnel.
Here we have Francois Couval repairing his bike. He says, I've had a very small leak in my fuel tank, which I've tried to repair here, but in Africa it's not so easy to weld aluminium. But someone has advised me to use this bar of soap. So, well, I'm going to have a go. He takes us over to the bike and he says, please excuse my hands, I haven't had a chance to wash them for days. Francois running in the Yako amateur class. We have to be a lot more resourceful on these rallies than normal, but I have never heard of this method if all else has failed. He goes off into the distance out of the bivouac just for a small, short test ride and returns to his service area. Happy that it's not leaking. He said it's okay, and it seems to be good. So now I will get a good night's sleep before I have to do it all over again tomorrow at 5 o'clock. The dunes of the Dakar are endless and endless. However, the broom wagon is always there to collect the unfortunate people who do not make it to the bivouac every evening. Out on the dunes, but once the Dakar arrives, the hearts and souls of hundreds of people really are worn on their sleeves. Ennio Cocracci here, taking a big tumble the wrong side of a dune.
Non, du tout,
okay?
du tout. On va te redresser. Est-ce que tu crois que tu es capable de continuer?
Oui, je peux continuer.
Tu es sûr de toi? Sinon le camion balai est à 1 kilomètre.
Okay, well, he says, if you can move, can you move out of the way? And all Ennio's saying is that I want to get back on my bike.
Je voulais te faire quelques bornes sympas là. C'est pas un truc d'invalide le Dakar.
He says it's not a race for normal people.
C'est pas une course de gens raisonnables, le Dakar.
Not a race for normal people. They have a remote control to turn it off. It's a very tough Dakar. It's as if the apocalypse is here. On day 2, I hurt the ligaments in my knee, but I can't stop in France. I can't stop in front of all of my sponsors and my friends. I have to go on.
Je pensais que c'était un ami, il m'a juste piraté. Et voilà quoi, bon.
Into the distance went everybody else under that sun. But sometimes people did not arrive in the sunshine. They got stuck in the dunes or they had mechanical problems, and it was a case of the night coming in on them. The moon may have been nearly full, and indeed the moon may have had the sand blocking it out in times as the eclipse came across northern Africa at the bivouac. But the riders had no time to see the moon disappear from the night sky. This rider saying, I'm not a good rider. 95% of the other riders get through this sort of a stage. It was very, very bad all day. The engine had a problem, and I'm getting old.
Alors voilà. Et puis en plus,
I will not come back. Instead, I will watch it on TV with my grandchildren.
Donc je reviendrai pas. C'est terminé. Je regarderai le Dakar à la télé. Avec mes petits-enfants.
A team effort all of the time for many of the crews, and even Pierre Lartigue saying he's still learning, and the first time for him on a Mauritanian stage in T1. Still learning.
Il y a longtemps que tu es là?
You've been here long? 2.5 hours. This is Philippe Bermudes. He says, I've changed everything in the engine. And 3 times I've tried to go and it's not worked. I've changed the air filter, I've changed the starter motor, I've changed pretty well everything, but I hope still to go.
J'ai perdu tout ce temps pour rien. Ah, c'est pas possible.
And once he's got it going,
dès que je m'égare,
the electric starter then won't work.
On voit la vraie course, quoi. La course des amateurs, c'est
Richard Sank saying it's a real race now after he had retired. For the privateers, it's going to be very, very hard. No time for them to eat, no time for them to sleep. But I can at least see them, and that'll be interesting for me at least. But it's a shame I'm out because I was fighting with the top guys.
En 4 jours de rallye, j'ai maigri de folie. En fait, j'ai oublié de leur faire mettre.
Alan Duclos saying, I've even got sand in my trousers. Next time, I'll try and remember to do the zip up.
Je crois que l'esprit du Dakar a été retrouvé là.
Ah, complet.
Le vrai, l'aventure.
A very hard marathon stage.
Aujourd'hui, là, ce qu'ils ont fait aujourd'hui, là, de ce matin à maintenant, c'est...
I'm very tired, and
de fatigué.
now that I'm here, I must clean everything. The bike, I must clean myself. And I had to stop at one of the control points just to eat some food and just to keep going. There was a Japanese guy with me, and together we drank a little bit of pastis, and well, he may have been drunk. He left him behind. Here is Frederic Moncassin. Moncassin here saying, I've got no tyre left. I now have a brand new aluminium tyre, but I have still got to do 60 kilometres on this, but at least I've got all night to do it. And remember earlier we saw Philippe Bermudes struggling in the dark. Well, he's still here in the morning. I found the problem with the engine. I tried all night. So then a rest day today at Attar and the second rotation of the airborne mechanics. So a view of the bivouac here under the searing sunshine in Mauritania. A rest day at least for some of the competitors, but for the mechanics, all hands on deck, particularly with Bruno Sabi here catching up with his mechanics. Richards, Mioni on the right-hand side, and Juan Roma out after having injured his right leg yesterday. Everything was okay until the day yesterday where we saw Roma crash. It was a sad and hard thing for us, but the team spirit is always on top. Concerning the Boxer engines, the new machines, we have nothing to say. We've just had one problem a couple of days ago when the engine broke because of a stone. And over on the other side of the bivouac with KTM, single-cylinder machines, Heinz Kinnegartner saying to us at the beginning, we pushed hard with BMW to try and make BMW brake. And it's worked. Now we just have to control the race from the front. There are no riders above any other rider in KTM. I just say to them that the road is a very, very long one to Dakar, and we just have to make this road as easy and as quiet as we can. I wouldn't like to see my riders crashing, but we don't have any pressure. We just have to control everything.
Aber trotzdem, es schaut sehr, sehr gut aus für uns. Und
that is exactly what we're going to do with us in KTM until we get to Dakar. Well, from the two-wheeled machines over to the four-wheeled machines with Mitsubishi. Mitsubishi leading overall with Hiroshi Mashioka. Bremer saying, the team boss, he says, for us it's a dream to be here with our 5 cars. And at least some people getting a little bit of a clean-up, a little bit of a sleep. And of course, those filters, a little bit of a clean as well. Stefan Peter-Hansel, the leader in T1. For us, it's okay. We're exactly 3 hours ahead of Magnaldi and my ex-teammate at Yamaha. It's very nice. It's a very good rally for us. The last part was very interesting, but also it was very difficult. I'm happy to be here and in this position.
Et puis des spéciales très techniques, très variées, pas toujours faciles, surtout la dernière pour venir jusqu'à Attar, mais en tout cas un rallye très intéressant.
So the view down on Attar, a very dusty service area indeed. We'll be back with the action tomorrow. Well, the rest day was yesterday at the town of Attar, and it gave some crews a chance to try and relax and try and do some washing, even if it was at the cost of a t-shirt at times. Germany's Jutta Kleinschmidt here, taking a welcome break in one of the local houses. And Mitsubishi teammate Hiroshi Mashioka there as well. Her co-driver Andreas Schultz getting a welcome massage though.
Im Auto vielleicht schaut es aus, wie wir uns schon lange kennen würden.
Here Andreas saying I'm the co-driver for Jutta for quite a while now, and we are as good as a couple together.
Gibt's denn Unterschiede zum
The
Fahren mit dem
question
Mann?
being, is it not a problem that Jutta is a woman?
Weil sie wirklich so schnell fährt und
Andreas saying no, not a problem at all, as long as she doesn't drive without any clothes on.
da muss schon den Helm runternehmen und ein bisschen was ausziehen.
And Jutta taking time away from the bivouac and investigating how much the trousers were. Obviously far too expensive for Jutta. And as always, a Coke is close at hand.
Wir können halt dadurch, dass wir hier die Rallye machen,
Jutta telling us
fahren, die man vielleicht
that the good thing about the Dakar is that you can visit places very safely, whereas if I came here on my own, well, it might be a little harder, and that is good,
und es macht schon
and I'm
Spaß,
happy
in
to be a
Gegenden
part
zu
of
kommen,
it.
die man vielleicht gar nie sehen würde.
Jutta's rest day, all important. So stage 11 from Attar to Nouakchott, down the southwest corner of Mauritania. A short road section and then a big special stage of 437 kilometers right to the bivouac. Well, as the sun rose over the Attar bivouac, it was to be a day without Spain's Juan Roma. Here he says to us, I'm going back home and I'm going to go and watch FC Barcelona play a match, and I hope that they will win. Team boss Bertie Hauser giving him a final hug. Oh, what could have been for BMW. Hubert Oriol seeing the crews off early this morning, and here PG Lundmark saying, well, I would like to win a stage as it's the only way and the only chance I have to gain time after my gearbox problem the other day. Francois Flick telling us that the rest day was good, even though we had a lot of dust in the bivouac. It was good to have some rest, but just this morning I checked over the motorcycle for a final time and I found a fuse loose, which I have replaced, and now I'm ready to attack. However, attack too hard, Francois did. Only a couple of kilometers into the stage, a massive accident for the Frenchman. He went over the top of the handlebars and was soon attended by a couple of crews, including American Johnny Campbell. Here the medical crew telling us, well, Francois lost consciousness and he's a little dizzy. It's not serious, but we'll take him immediately to hospital where we will give him some x-rays, but it's not too bad. So the dunes of the Dakar are always over the next horizon. as the 23rd running of the world's biggest and longest motorsport event gets back underway for the second half, and immediately out of the blocks like a rabbit bolting to its hole was PG Lundmark on his KTM. And remember that Lundmark is as good as a privateer. He does all of the servicing himself. He does not have a crew of mechanics working for him, as you can see with the rucksack on his back. A production machine as opposed to a works machine, and he soon was catching up and passing South Africa's Alfie Cox. Lundmark eventually victorious on the stage, over 4¼ minutes quicker than everybody else. The two KTMs teaming up together for quite a few kilometres. Cox's machine running alongside Lundmark's. The pace of life in the desert may have been slow, but at the front it was quick. Here we are with South Africa's Alfie Cox.
Like I say, we're going to stay in this riverbed now, I think for about 40 kilometers. And the sand is very soft and it's not handling so good. Well, it's heavy, but all I've got to do is try and find the smooth lines, keep the speed up. I'm going to head to the left of that mountain. Still on cap 175.
Cox was third today, 6¼ minutes back of Lundmark. So therefore, who was second? Well, the answer to that was Carlos Dugavado on his KTM. And Carlos speaking wise words after today's stage, saying there are still 10 days to go and anything can happen. The first part of today's stage was particularly tricky, but Carlos knew it well. And after that, he really got motoring on the fast sections. Cox was third. Fourth went to Spain's Esteve Pujol. The KTM's dominant like nothing ever seen before. Pujol only a handful of seconds back of Cox. Whilst Finland's Kari Tiainen was likewise only 3 seconds back of Pujol. Giovanni Sala, it was KTM after yet another KTM. The single-cylinder machines going like a flying Scotsman. After Sala on the stage was the overall leader out on the rest day, Fabrizio Mioni. He was only likewise another handful of seconds back of Sala. Jordi Arcaron second on the rest day. He was 8th today, matching his number 8. So it was KTM's all the way down to 8th position. What of the rest of them? Well, America's Jimmy Lewis was holding up the BMW flag. Jimmy saying his wrists were still extremely weak and not good, particularly over the rough and stony part at the beginning of the stage. His teammates, Cyril Desprez, the young Frenchman who was victorious on Rally Raid last year, he was 10th, just 20 seconds behind his American teammate. And what of the leading Honda? Well, that accolade went to Johnny Campbell on his semi-privateer machine. Johnny came in 13th today, just 34 back of the winner PG Lundmark, who was just over 4 minutes ahead of Dugavado. Cox third, Esteve Pujol fourth, and flying the flag for Finland, Tiainen in 5th. Overall, Mioni still has the lead from Arcarons, Dugavado, Pujol and Cox. KTM's all the way. P.G. Lundmark here saying, when I told you this morning that I wanted to win a stage, I've gone on to do it that same day. I was following orders, and I think that they were not going flat out, because after refueling, I could easily catch them. I continued, and as I was navigating my own route, I went off the main route with Alfie.
And you know, to open the track is very difficult. The other rider just caught me up in the stones, you know, when you're making the navigation, and then up to the refuel, it became very fast, but a little bit dangerous, because many traps and holes, and from the refuel all the way to the finish has been so fast. But it's been a good day, but it's not good to start in the front. So I think I haven't had a good. The position is probably 8, 9, 10 today.
Technical problems are everywhere on the Dakar. Sometimes you just think they're never going to end.
Il y a toujours quelque chose qui merde. Filtre à air. Pont avant. Front differential. Oil. Marmite.
Cylindre hydraulique.
Axle.
Radiator.
The pilot.
Der Motor.
La coupelle du maître cylindre d'embrayage, et ça consiste en ce petit bout de caoutchouc de 2 balles.
Salut.
I need a new wrist.
And I'm looking for Alfie Cox's place of abode. And I'm told these factory riders from KTM get put up in 5-star hotels. So we're looking for the Hilton Hotel in Mauritania. Well, I've just spotted this South African flag standing here above this huge 5-star hotel, and hopefully Alfie's here. Alfie Cox, are you here? there he sits in the dust and stuff lying around. Alfie, well, first of all, we got you on air for South African viewers. Hard race so far, pretty tough for Alfie Cox, having broken that wheel. But anyway, you'll come back. I'm sure you're going to come back. Tell us a little bit about where you live here when you're not on the motorcycle.
No, Dave, you know, you've got to make yourself as comfortable as possible. Obviously, I bring myself a blow-up mattress, which we use the compressor from the truck to like support you. A lot of guys use a very thin one, but you know, I prefer a little bit more than that. Obviously, my pillow from home, I've got to have that, and I've got to make myself as comfortable as possible, and make sure that I don't get sick while I'm on this race, because you know the food is very good that we get in the evening. It's a nice hot meal every day, but we don't get any lunch. We get a ration pack that's given to us with a little biltong stick, a mixed vegetable, and you know, it's things like that. Obviously you don't want to get running stomachs and all that, but I've got to put all my clothes and all my stuff from the day inside this tent.
Alfie, this is not a sport for wusses. If you can't cut it here in the desert, roughing it up like this, well then don't bother coming. Do you reckon any of our South African riders could cut it here?
Yeah, Dave, I think we've got guys that have got the caliber to do something like this. Unfortunately, it's so expensive. I just cannot see anybody, unless something comes out of the sky, a big sponsor. It's just too expensive. There's no ways. I'm just lucky I was landed in the factory team with KTM. Without them and Gulwas Blondes, Natro Freight, my sponsors at home, there's just no ways I would have done it.
Alfie, thanks very much for that insight on what it's like living on the Paris-Dakar Rally after hours in his accommodation here. Well, that's it from myself, Dave Peterson, for today's report on the Paris-Dakar Rally. Let's cross over then for today's highlights with Toby Moody.
No time to enjoy the views on the Dakar. Yesterday, as everybody approached the Atlantic port town of Nouakchott, even the camels looked disinterested. Mauritania at its best. Now here we see motorcycle number 39, Frenchman Eric Rosselet, going through one of the very quiet villages And eventually, unfortunately for him, stopping. Another motorcycle stops to say if he can help. And Eric's replying, well, it's not an oil problem, but maybe a clutch problem or something similar. Gloves off and working on the bike. He says that since day one he's had problems. The tyres in Morocco, the carburation broke the other day, and now it continues. I don't know what it is. Another rider stops to see if he can help. And Eric asks, have you got an 8mm socket spanner? Because I think I might have an engine gone. The other rider duly obliges as the rest of the field speed through. He's having trouble getting the nut undone. Today is the end. Maybe I go back home. He flags down Frédéric Moncassin, the former Tour de France yellow jersey holder. I think I've broken the engine, but if I get to the finish on the back of a truck, will I be kicked out? Frédéric answers, no, just penalties, just as if you had missed a control point. Do it! So now, with another problem on his hands, he manages to speak French with one of the locals. He says, I need to get to Nouakchott. Shows him the map. Anybody available? And the local says, yeah, well, I'll have a go. But quickly, says Eric. The locals converse amongst themselves. And then you've just got a barter. How much will it be? It says 60,000 in local currency. Now that's approximately $300 US, which is about 170 pounds.
1760 balles, trop cher.
Oh, too expensive.
Trop cher.
Just like Monty Python, you got a barter. Okay then, this local says, we'll go and find a car. But once more, Eric says, hurry up.
Qu'est-ce que vous avez donné est insuffisant d'après les calculs. Achète la voiture. Regarde, il est vide. Pêche-toi.
Whilst they're waiting for the car, everybody then offers Eric some tea or some coffee, black or even white coffee.
Non, pas de thé. Hein? Café. Non, vous allez... Café noir, café lait. Faut que je sois avant 6 heures à Nouakchott.
I have to be at Nouakchott by 6 this evening.
Avant 6 heures.
But then the worst sight of all for a Dakar competitor, the broom wagon arrives. This is the truck that collects anybody who has broken down. Okay, says Eric. It looks as if it's finished. I'll come with you. It's over. I'm terribly disappointed, and I've got tears in my eyes. And once his machine has been loaded onto the back of the truck, he jumps in too, and he is going to Nouakchott, not under his own steam. His rally is over. But then, just after the broom wagon has disappeared, Coventry's finest arrives, a Land Rover, the transport that the locals had arranged. But it's all too late. One of the longest stages of the Dakar, Nouakchott to Djidika, in Mauritania from the port of Nouakchott further inland. And with the massive landmass of Africa being what it is, the temperature will be rising. 580 kilometers. Now the day started in unusual circumstances, with all sorts of currencies being put down on the table, as we have Jordi Arcarons in an arm wrestle with Fabrizio Mioni. Well, I reckon that a KTM won that battle. The dunes were certainly to play a major part of the day's action, and likewise the wind that had got up. Problems immediately for the first three motorcycles on the road. Mioni, Arcarons and South Africa's Alfie Cox realising that this hanging valley had no way out except to go along the ridge or maybe even back down. Jordi Arcarons taking his own route. And this is extreme skiing of another kind. Fabrizio Mioni and Jordi Arcarons teaming up though. And the pair of them doing well, with Mioni navigating a little better than Arcarons, although Mioni, being a lot bigger, got stuck in the sand a couple of times. Here we are on board with Patrick Sirijol. He says today it'll be a long day, and I think that we will get over a lot of sand, but we'll have to manage our fuel consumption. Now everything's good, and I take everything in my stride. It's a pleasure, but I will manage any difficulties just one by one. This morning I started ready to attack. The winner of the stage yesterday, Sweden's PG Lundmark on his production KTM, was not going as quick in the right direction today. Lundmark going off on his own compass bearing regularly, according to the other riders. Here you can see he's absolutely lost. However, Alfie Cox did come over a dune to find Lundmark in the middle of the dunes, completely knocked out, visor knocked off, blooded his nose, and Lundmark losing a little bit of time today. He ended up over an hour and 50 slower. Problems for Kari Tianen, another Scandinavian, but this time it was terminal. His engine had seized, he was out of the rally. Shame for Tianen, because he was going like a train up until that point. His teammate Sala likewise had fuel problems, but Carlos de Gavado, he got fuel in the air filter at one of the refueling points, and then the massive sandstorm came that precluded a lot of people's progress. Cyril Desprez, he was in the lead until about 30 kilometers before the end of the 580 kilometer stage, but then the Frenchman fell twice in quick succession. Alfie Cox saying that this stage really sorted the men from the boys, and he expected to see a lot of the privateers not starting tomorrow morning. At the refueling during the sandstorm, he said he could barely get the nozzle in the tank. It was that bad. Esteve Puyol eventually was in 6th position behind Cox. John Deacon likewise reporting that the sandstorm, you couldn't even see the roadbook in front of your face. And for America's Jimmy Lewis, recovering slowly but surely with his injured left wrist. He had a safe day and got through the stage in 8th place, just half an hour back. Brucey on the Works KTM, he was in 9th, but Archerons was the victor. Johnny Campbell, the other American, again for the second day in succession, was the leading Honda in 11th. Archerons eventually won the stage, but only by a minute ahead of Mioni. De Gavado 3rd, Depre on the leading BMW now in 4th, and Alfie Cox 5th. Mioni continues to lead overall from Archerons, De Gavado 3rd, Puyol and Cox. Jordi Archerons here at the stage finish telling us it was one of the hardest days I've ever had on a motorcycle. He always had to be on the pegs, standing up. It was very difficult also because of the sandstorm. I couldn't see anything, so instead, during the sandstorm, we had to follow the GPS instead. Soft sand and camel grass were everywhere, and a few different valleys where you had to try and find a way between each of them. But obviously, I'm very happy because, of course, I have won the stage.
Pasa que Fabrizio Meoni controlla molto e è difficile sacarle tempo.
Io è andato tutto bene,
Fabrizio Meoni here, second on the stage today. He says that we were in very soft sand and going very slowly where I crashed a couple of times. I was worried though that I was going to run out of fuel about 10 kilometers before the finish line, and in fact when I looked in the fuel tanks I could see that I had a litre in one tank and a litre in the other. The Rose des Sables, a humanitarian effort on the Dakar that is really very different from anything else. The crew carries clothes and medical equipment to give to many of the smaller villages on the route of the Dakar rather than the big towns. We are going to stop here and give some medical equipment, but what is different is that we give to villages, not the towns. The medical crews are also here to help, and one of them goes into action helping one of the locals. He says that we are not a known operation, but just on the Dakar is where we operate, and we do a lot better than giving out t-shirts and pens and shoes and the like. And then soon they start to hand out not only some clothes but some small toys for the locals. Just look at the look on their faces. We don't want to give too much away at this village because we need to be careful not to keep things going all the way to Dakar. The Rose des Sables, a charity of the Dakar, on the Dakar. On déplace avec les doigts, à la mode de chez nous. Well, in the end, unfortunately for Paolo, nobody came along and they had to leave the truck in the middle of nowhere. It was Giovanni Sala, who had run out of fuel yesterday. Asking people if they'd got any, and indeed one obliging competitor did stop. And how valuable was that empty mineral water bottle for Sala? Even if he did get a faceful as the motorcyclist left, I'm sure he didn't mind. Sala asking another competitor, have you got enough fuel to get to the finish? And him replying, well, I hope. It may not have worked sometimes. In the end, though, he got to the finish. However, if you do take too long, the sun does set down into the desert. And some people were still in there in the middle of the night, still stuck without any fuel. It was not a welcome sight enough. And the broom wagon for some competitors.
Very hard course today. But not so far from here, so I can go to be back maybe.
Some people saw more than they bargained for, though. This competitor here say, I saw this huge snake. It was about 80 centimeters long, two great big eyes, horrible face. It was awful. However, the mechanical problems were not so funny. Staying here, I don't understand how you do the Dakar on a bike. I've had a huge struggle on this Dakar, always struggling. I thought it'd be fun, but all the stages... All the stages are for dogs. Whoever did the road book, he's mad. No one stopped to help us. The KTM truck just came flying past. Everybody has their own story to tell, but sometimes your physical fitness is just being pushed too far. And it was this morning that the broom wagon then arrived at the bivouac. Competitor here telling us, I thought I'd get to Dakar this time. It's my last Dakar because I'm 57 years old, so I have to stop one day or, well, I'll be joking with myself. Each day is very hard, and every time when I arrive into the bivouac, I must start to motivate myself for the next day. But this time, it's too much.
Ya me lo veía, ya me lo esperaba de un momento a otro. No era una cosa inesperada, el problema es que venía de muchos días.
So the second of the looping stages on the Dakar 2001 in the middle of Mauritania. The loop starting just a few kilometers out of the bivouac at Tijika. And then the 513-kilometre stage back to where they started, billed as the stage of the rally. Well, with Spain's Juan Roma already out earlier in the week, and the French hero Richard Sanct likewise retiring on the same day, it was KTM's party to call the shots at. Heinz Kinnegartner on the start line, just making sure all of his troops are doing as they're told. Jordi Arcarons, Fabrizio Mioni, Carlos Dogavado speeding off the line. And as we saw in days previous, the majority of the team all teaming up together. It is the safest way through the desert, if maybe not the fastest. Puyol, Cox, Dugavado, Mioni and Arcarons all riding line astern. Sometimes even taking time to look over their shoulder to check where the next one is. team reportedly were worried about fuel consumption on this stage, particularly after Sala ran into problems yesterday. Mioni, for example, he changed the carburation to make it a little leaner late last night in the bivouac, and so therefore used less fuel today. Long stage though, with these 5 completing it in just over 7¼ hours. Even though they were riding relatively slowly, it was still a taxing day in that soft sand. Some people nearly going over the top of the handlebars, and indeed Alfie Cox was one of them. After he tried to make a break for it to go for the stage win, he said that he went about 100 meters with the peak of his crash helmet on the front mudguard before he went head over heels. Fortunately, Alfie was okay. He did, however, say that if he'd ridden any slower amongst these teammates, well, they would have fallen off. Over the top of the pass, the teammates went in a sea of silver and orange. Over the top and then down the other side. One of the most spectacular shots of the Dakar 2001 as they come down the dune. They certainly don't want to get airborne over the top of there. However, by the time the riders got to the finish, eventually it was Finland's Kari Tiernen who was leading yesterday until a problem with the engine, but he went on to be victorious today in a time of 6 minutes and 53 seconds. Tiernen even taking time out to check up with John Deacon, who had a big fall.
You fell up, John?
Oh yes. You didn't catch it then?
You alright?
Yep, absolutely perfect. I'm getting good at crashing.
You're going, is it okay to change it and go again?
Yeah. Yeah, in 5 minutes I'll be gone.
John Deacon falling about 400 kilometers into the crash, the bike falling on him, and then it running like crazy before he could get out and get it off. A whitewash of KTM's inside the top 8, with 8th position going to Sala, but 7th going to Brucey, the Frenchman. Lewis and Johnny Campbell linking up together, the 2 Americans riding well. Johnny Campbell, of course, looking for a works ride very soon indeed. P.G. Lundmark recovering from his big accident yesterday, and likewise the leading Kawasaki today, Maletti in 13th. Cyril in 14th position on his Honda, an hour and a half back. Marquez continuing well in 15th position, bringing everybody else home. So then, after 5 years of trying, Finland's Tiernen was victorious. He says he's going to crack open a beer this evening and celebrate his first special stage win on the Dakar. Puyol, a massive, relatively speaking, 25 minutes back. Cox, Dugavado and Mioni, who still leads overall by 21 minutes ahead of Arcaron's Dugavado, Puyol and Cox.
Olipahan päivä, eilen tulin puolen yön aikaan tuolta.
Yesterday night I arrived in the bivouac very late, around midnight, because of the problems I had yesterday on the stage. Remember that his engine blew and he had another engine similar. I didn't sleep much, then I started slowly this morning, but gradually I felt better and better, and when we arrived on the camel grass I knew that I was fast and gaining time on the others.
Bueno, era
Esteve Puyol here telling us his second position today. A very slow day with camel grass and soft, very soft stand, and then a twisty track with many stones. then it was very difficult, but it's okay. All was good for me.
Pero bueno, no me he hecho nada, la moto está bien y bueno, un poco cansado porque hay mucha piedra con arena y cansa bastante.
Well, I cannot believe that we actually pulled away from the other guys today because, you know, we've just been going very, very slowly, all the first 5 or 6 pilots together, and it's been a very, very long and slow day. It's been a difficult day. The sand is very thick. The camel grass was very rough for about 70 or 80 kilometers, but it's for us, you know, I think the first 5 pilots are only looking for each other. They don't want to make a break or anything like that, and it's so difficult, you know. You try to pull away, and then all of a sudden there's some lot twisties, and then they just cut the corner and catch you again. So the best thing is to just stay where you are, and let's hope something happens in the next few days.
Well, the Euromaster squads are helping everybody change their tyres in the bivouac. But what's it like to be a local here in Mauritania? Well, talk about one end of the spectrum to another. This is the local tyre shop here in Tajika.
Combien de pneus tu fais par jour? À peu près.
The local here saying that sometimes we can mend 20, maybe sometimes 30 a day. But on the Dakar, sometimes 60 4x4 tyres, but it depends on the day itself, the course, the route, and the stones. Technology worlds apart. And this is how they inflate the tyres locally here in Tajika.
Oh, ouais, c'est comme ça. Ça, c'est 3 kilos. C'est 3 kilos.
That's about 3 kilogram pressure. 4 kilograms looks like that. But if 2 kilograms pressure, it's too soft like that. Here he says, I'm hoping one day to be a mechanic on the Dakar. Well, we'll ask Hubert Auriol.
They say that there are 2 races on the Paris-Dakar, one for them and the other race for the factory riders. Now, what does factory rider Alfie Cox do when he gets in at night after a long day in the saddle? When he's busy on the phone. Talk about the lap of luxury. Alfie here on a satellite phone, but he has been a privateer many times. Alfie, just interrupt your phone call there back home, but you've been a privateer. You've been there and done it.
Yeah, 98 was my first year, and it's definitely, there's 2 races, like they say, and you know, with the help of Chanticleer Hotel in Botha's Hill, they've given me this telephone, and it's really amazing. I mean, to know that I can come home after a hard day out there in the desert, and I can phone home and tell them exactly what's happened for the day. They get first-hand news. Koen van Zyl can send out all the press releases. The radio stations can phone me and put it live. This is the first year it's happened, and it's just too great.
But being a factory rider also has its perks. For instance, when you get in now, the mechanics get busy on the bike. Alfie Cox, all he has to do is go and take a shower and get something under his belt.
Well, I think it was 3 days ago since I've had a shower, and there was a bucket going by, and it worked out well. I think I smell okay, but definitely the mechanics start working on the bikes. But like I told you, the road book, out it comes, off we go. It's two to 2.5 hours at least working on the road book for the next day. There's no, you know, you see the little ration pack we get, that's what we're eating while I'm in my tent, and then 7:30 is dinner, and off we go to dinner, and then put the road book in the bike, find out what's going on from the mechanic, any problems, you know, tell him, you know, has he done this, has he done that, and really then it's to bed. Maximum 5 to 6 hours a night sleep, if you can, with the generator running. But that's the Dakar. Everybody does it, and I don't know why we do it.
I'll tell you something, Alfie. I'm actually sitting downwind from you, so I don't think that shower helped very much somehow, and I'd hate to be around you in 3 days' time. Anyway, that's the story from Alfie Cox, the factory rider. Let's catch up then with today's highlights with Toby Moody.
Here we see motorcycle 82, Richard Thouvelin, returning absolutely banjaxed. The medical crew's just behind him saying he's very dehydrated. He asked to stop for 30 minutes earlier so that at least he could get some food and get some drink inside him. Richard telling us, I was sure I could not finish, but it was for you guys who saw me on the floor. I hadn't drunk enough and then I got lost. And then the GPS failed. I must have done 100 kilometers more and then the fuel pump broke. Tonight I wonder why I do the Dakar. There is nothing left of the bike. It is just too hard, too difficult. And with 200 kilograms of bike in the dark, it's too hard.
200 kilos,
He says, though, this is from my daughter, Matilda. It is why I have been lucky today, I'm sure.
C'est ça qui me porte bonheur, c'est sûr. C'est ça que je veux justement.
So then, after a long stage yesterday, a relatively short one today as we go further inland to the east into Central Africa. The stage from Tijika to Tijit, 230 kilometers. The finish right at the bivouac itself. The village of Tijit, very, very picturesque indeed. Well, it was Kari Tiernen from Finland who was victorious yesterday. His first ever Dakar stage win. And likewise yesterday, Heinz Kinnegartner seeing the KTM bikes off the line. He did the same today as they sped into the camel grass. The sand extremely soft, but at least there were no control points for the crews to navigate themselves to today. It was just a hell for leather blat from one place to the other. Tiernan quickest, and Britain's John Deacon was chasing him hard though. Deacon caught up with the lead group and indeed thought that he had done enough to win the special. But then he did a head count of the group around him and realised that someone was missing. Deacon, though, not without his problems. Deacon tried to speed ahead of the rest, but realised he'd left it too late. Deacon was second today, but even then, 14.5 minutes off Tiernan. Tiernan, though, joining the exclusive club of riders who have won from the front, navigating their own way and not following anyone else. Tiernan will be celebrating, I'm sure, this evening with even a few more beers than he had last night. What of the other KTMs? Well, Sala and Mione and Cox all teamed up together, and the KTM unofficial team orders surely coming to the fore as they approach the white sands at Tijit. Sala eventually coming home in third place, 16.5 minutes back. However, looking for a train even. He's looking for all of the other KTM teammates. Jean Brucy was fifth, just behind Jordi Arcarons. So today at least the leading BMW in amongst the KTMs was John Deacon.
It's one of those things where you just have to
Johnny
really
Campbell.
come and experience it, almost like any desert race. It's an enthusiast sport. You want to experience it yourself. It is just so vast, you know, it makes anything I do back home like a go-kart race or something. This is quite incredible, just how large this continent is with just absolutely nothing. You know, no convenience stores, barely a gas station with a barrel of fuel every once in a while.
And that's about it. These people live pretty remote compared to even Baja. So I'm thoroughly amazed by the vastness of this all. Well, there goes PG. PG's been on a mission all week and has been having a few troubles. So I just gotta let him go because he rides really fast.
Johnny Campbell keeping in touch with our helicopter there. Johnny eventually 11th on the stage today, leading in the Yakko class, however, once he had returned to the bivouac. Esteve Puyol was 9th behind South Africa's Alfie Cox, whilst Jimmy Lewis, the other American on his BMW, he was in 10th place but struggling with his wrists, continuing to be in trouble. Cyril, the Frenchman, he was 13th today, just behind another Frenchman, Desprez. Another finish. This is Tiernan waiting those 14 minutes and 32 seconds for the rest to arrive. My goodness me, Tiernan's done 5 Dakars. He wins his first stage yesterday. You wait for a bus and they all turn up at the same time. So Tiernan victorious by 14.5 minutes from John Deacon. Sala, Archerons and Brucey as good as tied together. The KTMs just trying to get themselves home, as is denoted by the overall rankings. Mioni, Archerons, Tugavado, Esteve Puyol and Cox. A clean sweep. Finland's Kari Tiernan saying, I just know that I was nearly 15 minutes ahead of the others. I don't know why, but today was another good day for me. He, of course, speaking before the others had arrived. I like this sort of finish, but in the camel grass, it's like as if you're on a boat. You have to catch and find a good rhythm. If you get that rhythm, you fly, and then you don't feel the bumps on the road. I like it.
It's quite short, and I didn't think it would really suit me because it's tight and twisty, suit me or the bike, but you know, I don't always read the rule book, so it was very nice. I caught the other group and then realised Kari was long ahead, so I pushed on past them, but it's difficult in the camel grass, and I hope I don't ever see any more camel grass because I just hate it. But yeah, it's okay, my best results so far, and it's still quite a long way to go to Dakar, so fingers crossed, anything can happen.
Una giornata
Mioni saying it was a day without any problems, but just running. It's that kind of road that I like a lot, and I would like to take it flat out. But this year, it's different. We have a target to get our bikes together all the way to Dakar. Then we have to manage the bikes and, of course, our physical capabilities.
Che è quello di andare in economia di meccanica e in economia anche fisica, per cercare di non fare errori e di arrivare senza inceppi fino a Dakar.
It was only a short stage, 250 kilometers, but very thick sand, soft, and today I really had fun on the KTM rally bike. It was incredible, just very easy to ride, and you know, not difficult, nice way, one piece all the way, one track, and I really enjoyed my bike today, and yeah, we wait, tomorrow's a long day.
This is Elisabetta Jacinto, the Portuguese lady rider, arriving in Cairo last year. However, this year she's not been so lucky. This year she's without no service truck, after it was that service truck which ran over that landmine earlier in the Dakar in northern Mauritania.
O Dakar sozinho é muito mais difícil do que...
Elisabetta is saying to us to do the Dakar alone is very, very difficult. I have no mechanics, but Pedro behind me here, he's here to help me, so today we have to work together on the bike. Pedro getting stuck in and helping Elisabetta. But yesterday on the looping stage, she and Pedro deliberately missed a couple of control points to just conserve energy in order to stay in the rally. However, the motorcycle getting the better of her now and again. Physical limits have been reached.
Ontem à noite a pista era muito difícil e acabei por cair muitas vezes.
Elizabeth saying that last night on the road it was very, very hard and I fell over many times. I fell on my foot and it folded underneath me and I've broken 3 bones, but they've put a support on my foot so tomorrow I can continue, even if getting my boot on may be a problem. After that, I should be okay. I mean, I've done 300 kilometers before with a broken collarbone anyway, so tomorrow will be hard, but I will be okay. So today's stage from Tachit to Neymar, exactly the same stage as that in 1999, except run in the opposite direction. The NG Pass, the Hold Rocks and the Mountain of Elephants Erg are just some of the highlights. A relatively slow and tough stage that is nevertheless magnificent. And of course, competitors will need to conserve their energy for the 2 long stages to come. Sunrise this morning at 14 minutes past 7, and immediately out of the bivouac, it was first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth gears, and flat out all the way. Kari Tiernan, the flying Finn on KTM number 7. He won his first stage 3 days ago, he won his second yesterday, and today he's won his third. You wait for a bus and they certainly all do come along at the same time. Tiernan though, well down overall. He is some 21.5 hours behind the leaders. Therefore, he has been let loose and he can do exactly as he wishes on his Austrian single-cylinder machine and just go for the wins. Certainly they have been coming what looks as if they have been coming at least relatively easily. Tiernan, victorious for the 3rd time today, but second, leading the group of other KTMs who rode the stage together, was Esteve Pujol. Pujol, get this, some 42.5 minutes behind Tiernan. Such is the pace of the remaining 6 KTMs that have been riding together. I repeat that, 42 minutes behind, even though he ran into trouble now and again. The camel grass tumps catching him out, but he was soon back on his feet and able to be second today. Nasty falls for some other people, and luckily some getting away with it. That sand really is that soft. However, catching some people really where it hurts. This is Paulo Marques, the Portuguese rider, off his Honda. It hurt so much, he was prepared to go without a drink. Sometimes it just goes straight through you. So after the troubles of people further down, up at the front, South Africa's Alfie Cox. Well, he was 3rd today, but riding very within himself indeed. The whole KTM staying as a group. Of course, they really do have to conserve their top 5 positions in the overall standings, and what a result that would be for the Austrian manufacturer come Dakar in a few days' time. Here we have Jean Brucy saying, he says, where is the roast beef? Of course, he talking about John Deacon, the French name for the English. John Deacon, he say, was behind him. And here indeed is John Deacon, the roast beef indeed. 8th position for him, the leading BMW on today's stage, some 50 minutes back of the winner. However, Deacon not without his frustrations. He lost his seat quite early on and he had to go back and find it. He lost 10 minutes going back and of course 8 or 9 positions on the road. He found it hard to read past the people that had already passed him whilst he was mending the seat. But at least John knew the route today, and all he can hope for is a bad day with KTM. It may well happen, but at least Deacon still can be the first BMW back to Dakar. He needs to find another 3 minutes on Jimmy Lewis. PG Lundmark going flat out as ever.
The tracks today,
Here's
now we're riding
Lawrence
on
Hacking.
the fairly easy part here, which is going to be, I think, one of the easiest parts, because I expect it to get quite a bit more difficult in the camel grass and in the soft sand. So my goal today is to just ride safely and conserve energy, of course, because I know it's going to be a long, long day.
Lawrence Hacking, true amateur from Ontario in Canada, riding very, very well indeed. Other people in the Yakko class looking very second-hand, but Lawrence looking very fresh and sprightly. Jimmy Lewis and Johnny Campbell. Lewis having a good day in 11th, but Johnny Campbell losing time down in 20th position with a problem that cost him 1 hour and 41 minutes. Spectacular scenery on the Mountain of Elephants Pass, and you can see exactly why. Fabrizio Mioni, the leader overall in the motorcycle class of the Dakar, leading now by 22 minutes and 43 seconds, and all his teammates were there to help him in case anything happened. It was a KTM clean sweep today on the stage, the top 7 positions being taken by the orange and silver team. Mioni just saying he doesn't want to win a stage this year. From now on to Dakar, he just wants to win it overall. There's the stage. 3 in a row for Tiernan. Esteve Puyol second. Cox, De Gavado and Mioni. Look how close 2nd to 5th were. All of the KTMs riding to team orders. Therefore, the overall stays pretty well as it was. Mioni, Arcarons, De Gavado, Esteve Puyol and Cox.
It was a very nice stage. Sand and stone all the way, and you know, same as yesterday and the same as the day before. There's no changes, so I have nothing more to say.
Can you tell us about your strategy or strategy of KTM for the future?
I'm not sure. You have to ask the manager.
No sé, porque cada día
KTM, but Arcaron's here saying the strategy for KTM is to take it quietly. Every day we have a meeting, and we know what we have to do. I think we are going to continue until Dakar because KTM has no interest to start a war between the riders.
Y hay que obedecer las órdenes.
We have to obey that. Jean Brucy here, every night after a briefing, we have a separate briefing with KTM after a briefing of the organisers. The orders come directly from Austria. We don't have to discuss anything. We are here to do as we're told.
C'est pour ça que vous nous voyez assurés depuis 2 jours déjà. Vraiment, on assure le coup.
This is Japanese technology.
Stage today, 214 kilometres with long road sections either side of the actual stage. Lots of navigation, lots of parallel pistes on narrow roads, and by now we're well into Black Africa. And finally, the third visit by the flying mechanics coming in from Europe. Sunrise this morning at 7 minutes. The early bird always catches the worms. And as always, together with a Land Rover, there is always a Peugeot 505 somewhere on the planet. The scenery getting a bit greener now, the further south we go, as even the birds have found a place to nest atop of the cucumber tree. No cucumbers growing on that one, though, as the motorbikes were first off this morning. And what a day it was for number 102, local man Alain Duclos. He arrived at the finish and was told that he had finished in 4th place, and he was quite amazed about it. He actually arrived this morning at the stage late. He hadn't shaved, he hadn't put his road book in his bike, he was totally disorganized, and given only a few minutes to prepare himself before he got the green light, he was off and running, and he was actually embarrassed that he hadn't shaved because he was going to meet his mum at the end of the stage. 4th position for Duclos. However, winning today was Alfie Cox. The reins taken off the South African after the last 3 days of team orders, and Alfie going nearly hell for leather, not absolutely to the maximum, but at least he was going a lot quicker than he was told to do previously. You can see how difficult the roads were. However, it was actually not on one of the stage kilometres where Alfie took a tumble. He actually took a tumble on one of the road sections after the stage itself. He overtook a bus, and once he got alongside, the bus went into a big hole and went over the top of the handlebars. He was very lucky indeed to only get away with a grazed forearm. Giovanni Sala was second today, but only 2 minutes and 23 seconds back of Alfie Cox. PG Lundmark, there is just no stopping him on the production machine, hanging it all out as always. Lundmark running up with Mioni, the overall leader of the Dakar, here on the 16th stage. And problems for Lundmark, you can see him reaching down, changing gear with his left hand. He broke the shifter quite a few kilometres before the finish. He was stuck in 5th gear at the time, and try as he may, well, he did what he could to try and change gear by hand. Overall, though, PG Lundmark back in 14th position after having lost time a week 10 days ago with the engine problem and gearbox problem on a long stage. Mioni, of course, continuing to lead overall by over 21 minutes. Choose your route you may indeed. However, the trees are there to catch you out, and likewise those deep tracks that have been set into the ground during the wet season. Mioni rode a safe day today in 7th position, 11 minutes and 25 seconds back. He thought it was quite dangerous on the stage, therefore played it safe. Just wants to arrive, of course, as slow as possible to Dakar. Here's Lundmark arriving at the finish. Look, there's just nothing left of that shifter, and still he finished in 3rd position, only 7 minutes back of Cox. What could he have done had everything been in place? Here's Mioni arriving for his 7th position on the stage today, and Lundmark impressing himself. On board here with Polish rider Jacek Czakor. He He says he's got another engine problem. Coming to a halt, our helicopter is over view with our radio link and onboard camera mounted atop of his visor. He says he's had a problem with his fuel cut-off valve each day. He gets the same problem all of the time, so this time he knows exactly what to do. The pole eventually got restarted. And eventually finished 21st on the stage today on his Honda, some 27 minutes back. Jordi Arcarons on his KTM, relatively quiet day for him in 5th position. And Villa on his KTM, another production machine similar to that of Lundmark, well, he was 6th. Carlos de Gavado, the winner first day in Africa on the Dakar, 8th today. The Chilean 13 minutes 10 seconds back. Jimmy Lewis, the leading BMW on the stage today. The American with number 4, doing the best that he can with those painful wrists. Esteban Puyol was right behind Jimmy in 10th position. Yet another KTM. Cox, victorious for the 2nd time this year on the Dakar. Nearly 2.5 ahead of Sala, Lundmark, Duclos and Jordi Arcarons. Overall, Mioni still has an advantage of well over 20 minutes over Arcarons, de Gavado, Puyol and Cox.
It was a great day, really. It's the same as we have in the north, in South Africa, in Botswana, with the 2 tracks and all the vegetation on the side, and it was easy to be in front with no dust, and I made good navigation today, no mistakes, and made a good rhythm, and I don't know what happened to the other riders, but I had a great day with no risk, and yeah, it's been good. I'm very happy.
Better than yesterday, eh?
Oh, yesterday was really, I've had 3 days of frustration, but you know, we have to understand that KTM, it's a very big thing for all 5 to be in the, and obviously there can only be 1 or 2 winners, and if we have team orders, we have team orders, but today we were allowed to go free because we're in Black Africa, and it's difficult to make people think that the navigation is difficult, but today I made perfect navigation. I think they got lost in the one village, and perfect. I've pulled some good minutes today, but I think tonight we'll have some new strategy for tomorrow. But I had a great day. I'm happy, and
you win the stage.
I'm sure I win the stage today. Yes.
Ja, vad härligt att lyckas nu äntligen. Synd bara med den där växelspaken att den gick av. Annars så tror jag nästan jag kunde ha tagit sträckstegen. Jag har ätit hemskt mycket damm. Kanske syns jag. Jag har inte varit speciellt lätt. Jag startar för långt ner.
PG Lundmark. He's got perfect vision in his left eye and 60% vision in his right, but his broken nose is giving him some jip. He says he's a real Viking, even though he has got a bit of Montezuma's revenge in his tummy.
Ce matin, quand je suis arrivé, j'étais un peu à la bourre.
Duclos, 4th position today, telling us this morning.
Du coup, quand je suis arrivé,
on the start line, he arrived a little late, and when he asked the official,
well, I certainly wouldn't like to eat what the locals eat. So let's take a look then at what the riders and the rest of us on the Dakar Rally eat every single day. Alfie Cox, you spoke about the food. You said it wasn't too bad, actually.
Yeah, Dave, you know, in the evening we have a hot cooked meal, but the lunch, there's no lunch, so they give you this little packet, the rat pack, and inside here is, you know, when I arrive after the race, the mechanic has this little rat pack, and it's really enough for you to eat. There's a biltong stick, which is the nicest thing. There's some pate, 2 little rusks, there's some pommes, yeah, not pommies, but I think it's apple pie.
So it's not Englishman, actually.
No, it's not Englishman.
Not canned Englishman, okay.
A little fruit juice, really, and a granola bar and some raisins, a little baby mini cheese, and condensed milk. And really, it is enough for you for the afternoon, and you get by until 7:30 when the dinner starts.
What happens if dinner doesn't happen? Now you've got to rely on those rat packs. But better than the army, though, hey?
Yeah, look, you could live off this, but it's never happened in the Dakar. 4th year now. Every night dinner, it goes right through till 6 o'clock the next morning. It's quite amazing what they do in the middle of Africa.
If you're just taking a look at this, though, they call it the RDA, the recommended daily allowance. But of course, riding the bike out there, it takes a lot more effort. You're obviously consuming a lot more calories. Do you find that hunger ever comes into it during the day?
Up until this year, we used to have a 15 minutes where they used to decontrol the race while we filled up with fuel, which was once a day. And now this year is the first year they've stopped that. So what we used to do was open the rat pack in the morning, take the granola bar, take something just for the way, like that 15 minutes while the bike's been filled up, you just quickly put it in your mouth. But this rally, it's been no decontrol, so you're in a hurry when you get to the refuel, and I haven't really had a problem. You know, obviously we put some energy mix with our water and our camelbacks, and really hunger hasn't been a problem this year.
Just explain to our viewers what the camelback is.
Well, you know, it's, we are compulsory, have to carry 2 liters of water on our back. It's a little pouch you stick inside your jacket, takes 2 liters of water, and we have 2 liters of water on the bike, which is recommended by the organizers. You cannot start the day without the bike full. It's for in case you break down and the organizers don't find you that day. You've got to be able to see yourself through to the next night, you know, when they pick you up.
So today's stage giving the crews the longest day on their motorcycles or even in their cars. A 100% new stage, fast and rolling over the bandana-type lateral tracks going round by the south of the Bayuli National Park. But the roads will become narrower and more winding through the bush. Just before the start this morning, everybody arriving after the road section in time and ready to take battle. Sala, Mioni, leader overall, PG Lundmark there still struggling with his eye. Kari Tiernan et al. All there. Alfie Cox, could he go for another win today? And America's Jimmy Lewis. John Deacon too on the other BMW. And soon they were given the green flag and off they went. Starting, of course, in the order in which they finished yesterday's stage. Vegetation really has got a hold as we go a little bit further northwest. However, we are predominantly going west. This the 4th to last stage of the Dakar. The KTMs being all dominance in the overall standings, holding the top 5 places. However, today it was the turn of Giovanni Sala, the Italian, on his Austrian KTM. Single-cylinder machine, blasting ahead of the rest to be victorious today by 6 minutes and 19 seconds. The locals cheering him on to the echo. Second position today was not a KTM, but a BMW. France cheering on Cyril Desprez, the young hotshot on the BMW flat twin, the revelation of 2000, having won the Atlas Rally last year. He will be welcoming a little bit of water, if only to cool his feet down just for a few moments on the stage today. 370 kilometers in length. Desprez catching and then passing Esteve Pujol's KTM on what was a short section of Tarmacadam. Sala first today, Desprez second, and Finland's Kari Tiernan, having won 3 stages in a row earlier this week whilst we were still in Mauritania. Having said that, the Finn saying in the bivouac only last night that even though he won relatively easily, having led from the front, he has become a lot more confident on the navigational side of things. Britain's John Deacon making it 2 BMWs in the top 4 today, only 8 minutes back of Sala. Therefore, second, third and fourth covered by less than 2 minutes. The overall leader was 5th today, Fabrizio Mioni on his number 3 KTM. The Italian 9.5 minutes back of his teammate Sala. Esteve Puyol, the Spaniard, he was 6th, even though he overshot on this particular corner. De Gavado, the Chilean rider, who was victorious on the first day in Morocco. All of those days ago on the Dakar, he was 7th. Not a good day for South Africa's Alfie Cox. The spring on his stand failed, and as you can see, he was flapping in the wind. Cox also hit his chin on the dash as he went over one of the enormous bumps. Cox was unlucky for him, 13th. Jean Brucy, 8th position today, 11.5 minutes back. Jordi Arcarons, the Spaniard, just behind Brucy in 9th. Only another 20 seconds back of Arcarons. What of PG Lundmark, the Viking that never ever gives up? Well, Lundmark had not too good a day today, although he was cheered on by the locals. He was 10th. Lundmark, though, the leading production bike on the stage today, some 13 minutes 40 seconds back. Sala then taking the laurels today ahead of Francis Desprez. So close and yet so far for the Frenchman. His time will come. Tiernan, Deacon and Mioni. Overall, though, the Italian Mioni continues to lead from Arcarons, De Gavado, Esteve Puyol and Cox. Winner Sala today saying it was a good stage at the beginning, but with a lot of dust. Then at the end it was very dangerous because of the big holes in the road, and I preferred not to take too many risks. So I went slower until the end.
L'ultimo pezzo di pista, fratelli, un disastro. Delle buche profondissime, molto difficile, molto pericolosa, e quindi preferito sforzare un po' di più nella parte centrale, poi il resto farlo un po' più rilassato.
Credo che Jordi abbia voluto
overall leader Fabrizio Mioni saying, well, at least that's 800 kilometers less to Dakar. There was a lot of dust, even more than yesterday. It was like riding at night without lights. I started behind Villar, and when I got past him, I couldn't see Jordi. I went flat out, and then realized that he couldn't be that far ahead. He said that I passed him in a village, but I'm not so sure. Jordi's clever. He knows how to overtake me without going against the orders of our team manager. Jordi Arcarons here saying, no, I didn't try anything clever. I just stopped at the exit of a village for a pee, and Fabrizio went past without seeing me. It's a little difficult riding to orders by KTM, but they've been trying to win this race for years, so it's understandable that they don't want to take any risks. I think Mioni is under pressure too.
Last night they gave us a modification on the road book, kilometer 262, and it was over a blind rise, and the road has got a big hole inside it, and lucky I wasn't going too fast. I came over and I fell in the hole. The bike just went sideways and I went down, but I've cut my chin, I think, on the dashboard. it's not looking too nice. But anyway, no problem.
Okay.
Yeah, the stand spring broke today, so it's been flapping, and the one pipe broke on the fuel line, but it doesn't matter. It was only 70 kilometers home, and I had enough in the front tank, so it wasn't a problem.
So a big day or half day today?
Well, no, they held me back today. You know, I had to stay behind everybody, so you know, I've just had an easy day, but it's been very dangerous. Most dangerous race of the Dakar today. It was incredible, really.
Well, yesterday on the stage, Alain Duclos finished 4th with a brilliant ride on his Honda. He started with a start number of 102, and he's from Mali. He has a French father and a Malian mother. Mali certainly embraced their hero yesterday. It was a brilliant ride by the local. I wanted to come back home in style. I took some risks, but everything went well, so I'm happy and looking forward to the Bakel stage. However, he has also been raising some money for charity whilst riding on the Dakar. He says here is a check from SOS Sahel France for 20,000 francs, that's around $3,000 US, for the work you are doing here in Sahel. We think that the work you are doing is brilliant, and I encourage you to continue. Now in Bamako, though, he goes to find his mum. And his mum here saying, I'm a very happy mother and very proud of my son. Today, though, we hooked up with Alain on board with his Honda. It was a very emotional and very overwhelming moment for me yesterday. I gave the money, I saw my family, and the result of the day. It was brilliant for me and a huge emotional rush. God, and he gives us luck. Well, the stage today, the second Senegalese stage with narrow roads with a lot of vegetation, high grass and bushes. The first part of the special is over winding roads through the bush, and the second half is a lot quicker and runs over some very, very fast roads. It will be difficult for the trucks. Well, drama even before the start this morning. This was at the bivouac at Bakel just after breakfast at around 8:30 this morning. The number 54 machine here catching light, and with temperatures approaching some 43, 44 degrees at Bakel yesterday, the temperatures were rising and something unfortunately gave. Eventually pushing his machine away, and soon all hands were on deck.
Parce que c'est là que ça va être la merde, là. Là où ça a brûlé, parce que la merde va passer. Alors on va essayer avec du scotch américain.
He says here that the fuel tank was leaking, and it lit up when I started it with a bit of backfire. I shut off the rear tank, so today I'll go with the front one. We all do the Dakar together. We do 6 months preparation, but there's no reason why this should have happened. But we'll see if it's all right now. It will not be the Dakar if it was easy. Everything is hard. There's a trap everywhere waiting to catch you out on the road. And a bit of a quick fix. There's nothing like an elastic band, a piece of tank tape and a lump hammer. Are you afraid? He says, no, if it catches light, I'll just jump off. The most important thing for me is to start this morning. That is the spirit. And indeed, he did start this morning, and indeed, he did finish today. The Frenchman did get to the finish this afternoon. So from an unlucky start to the day, it was an easy day in the saddle, relatively speaking. The third to last stage on the Dakar 2001, the 23rd running of the event, and the first victory in 2001 on a stage for the young up-and-coming Frenchman, Cyril Desprez, the 2000 Atlas Rally winner on the machine. He's not only a very good rider, but he's highly rated as a good mechanic as well. So Desprez, the man for the future, maybe to take over the reins after Richard Sanct moves on. However, Sanct certainly got a few more years left in him yet. Sanct retiring on the run into Attar, the rest day in the middle of this 3-week-long enormous rally, the biggest motorsport event in the world. Desprez victorious today, covering the 285 kilometers in just under 2 hours 55 minutes. First victory for BMW since the departure of Nani Roma, who is already back home in Spain. Second today, the KTM of Giovanni Sala. Sala some 51 seconds back of Desprez. And Desprez, of course, starting second on the road this morning. South Africa's Alfie Cox, third today, even though he got to a fork in the road and opted to go one way and many people went another. And it just so happened that that way was exactly the same mileage as what the others did. Jordi Arcarons was fourth on the stage today, encountering a little bit of wildlife, whilst Jean Brucy made it 2 Frenchmen inside the top 5 with his number 10 KTM. Top 5 covered by less than 9 minutes in a 3-hour stage. Dust, of course, once more a problem for many of the competitors. Chile's Carlos de Gavado having a little bit of fun out on the stage, as indeed he was last night, wheeling around the bivouac. But the overall leader was 7th on the stage today. Fabrizio Mioni, the Italian on his KTM, some 9 minutes and 18 seconds back. He's sleeping well at night, he is saying, and having no problems during the day. On board here with Andrea Meyer, says that she's not going to risk anything today, 2 days before she arrives in Dakar. She was last overall, and now she's 32nd overall. However, as she's talking to us, she realizes that she's missed a slot left, and she has to go through the bush and find her tracks after the crossroads. Mayon, the Frenchman, was the leading hunter today, the leading amateur as well. He finished 8th on the stage, a good result for the amateur in amongst all of the professionals. Likewise, Esteve Puyol, the Spaniard, was 9th. And Britain's John Deacon was 10th on the stage today. Relatively easy, but 45-degree temperatures making it very, very taxing indeed. Good job there by Desprez, ahead of Sala, Cox, Arcarons and Brucy. Stage finishing in Tambacounda this evening, but overall, Fabrizio Mioni's lead is still 22 minutes from Jordi Arcarons, de Gavado, Puyol and Cox.
J'ai fait une petite erreur quand même.
Cyril Desprez here saying, I made a small mistake, as you can see on my bike.
Je suis sorti un petit peu large dans une piste, mais beaucoup de glissade, beaucoup de plaisir.
Off the road on a corner, but in this stage we had a lot of fun. I saw monkeys quite a few times. It was a nice stage. It's the first time since the beginning of the rally that I've started up front. No marks on the road from other competitors. I don't know how the others are, but normally I think I'm ahead of them. I stayed concentrated all day long, so we're going to have to wait and see. After the second control point, Giovanni Sala here saying, I made a mistake and I fell. During that crash, I damaged my road book. It's broken, and then I had to continue on without it. I went slower, but here I'm okay after 40 kilometers without it. As the end of the special was dangerous, I went slower and slower without any more problems. And as you can see, the roadbook completely messed up, like a toilet roll flapping in the wind. Overall leader Fabrizio Mioni saying it was a quiet stage for him, but the most important problem for me is to keep my concentration. I must manage myself and be cool with my bike and my engine. One more stage tomorrow, nothing is definitely done or finished.
Ancora un altro passo verso Dakar, ne manca uno. Speriamo bene.
So then, the overall leader of the Dakar with 2 more days to go, the 43-year-old Italian Fabrizio Mioni. He did his first Dakar back in 1995, and this time it could be the golden one. Just what does the Dakar mean to him? He says the Dakar and I are as one. The Dakar is a very different race, and when sport turns into physical strength, that is what interests me. I like it when sport becomes a fight, and this pleasure is why I do the Dakar. Now, back in 1998, we see him finishing one of the stages with a broken GPS because of a malfunction between his onboard microphone, and his temper goes absolutely through the roof. So what does he think of his temper? Yes, it's true, he says. I do have a temper, but this year, at the beginning in Morocco, really, I chose to just sit back from the main fight, and I didn't take any risks. I was with the leaders, but just a little further back. This was my more experienced mind saying, I just had to wait. However, this year it's come true. The KTMs have been also dominant in the top 5 on the Dakar. What interests me
delle corse a me piace soltanto la fase
sportiva, is the sport
della gara.
On my bike. Anything off the bike just doesn't interest me.
Quella dello stare sopra la moto, poi quello che viene dopo la gara, dopo un'eventuale vittoria, cioè non è quello, non mi interessa, quindi non mi cambia granché. Mi tiro fuori un po', cerco. Mi piace tirarmene fuori.
Fabrizio Mioni en route to Dakar. What you missed from yesterday. Now this is the local Senegalese rider, Les Diallo, getting up early yesterday morning, and he's saying, well, when I was younger, it was my ambition to do the Dakar, because only one Senegalese has done the Dakar before, and every time I see him, I always said in my head that when I was older, I would do the Dakar. Struggling a little with some injuries, the local rider returning to Dakar today. It's very difficult, he says, each morning when you have pain and you're tired, but you've got to keep going. A wrist injury and a chin injury. But he set off yesterday for Tambacounda, but not without some more problems. As you can see by his right foot, he's lost the footrest. Nowhere to put my foot. And if he wasn't tired enough already, that will certainly tire him out. On board with Yellow, he says, it's a super day today. I have tears in my eyes because 18 days ago I left my home and now I see my country, and all I can do now is dream about finishing in Dakar. But of course, I find it difficult to stand up on the bike. I find it very hard indeed with only one footrest. And he nearly gets caught out here.
Tu veux un bout de clé, un bout de clé, un bout de clé. Peut-être un coup de marteau, je le mets dedans, tu peux poser ton pied dessus. Attends, hein?
Locals here saying, do you want help? And indeed they find a spanner and put it in to make a footrest. And indeed he goes on his way.
Une maison pour monsieur? Je pense qu'il va finir ses jours ici s'il n'arrive pas chez lui.
He says here, if I don't finish, I'll be disappointed, not only for myself, but for everybody in my country. So therefore, I must get to the finish.
Franchement, on est très content parce que même s'il n'arrive pas à
One of the locals here saying, for us he is a hero, and even if he doesn't get there, he is still our hero, because at least he has got to Senegal. Well, the penultimate stage of the Paris-Dakar Rally 2001 from Tambacounda to Dakar itself before a short super special on the final day. A road section and then a stage of 217 kilometres. It was actually the same stage that was used last year, but this time it's run in the opposite direction. A fast start and then a denser second half with regards to the vegetation. The motorbikes set off early this morning, their final really early start underneath the Senegal dawn. 7:30 this morning, the sun came over the horizon, not that the crews had much time to view it. However, it was Giovanni Sala who was getting all crossed up at times, but the KTMs were dominant once more. Italian victorious today, and everybody in high spirits. Alain Duclos, the Frenchman, well, he was 10th today. We saw him do so well a couple of days ago when he finished 4th, when he went home, in inverted commas, to Mali. Cyril Desprez, the Frenchman who was victorious yesterday, was not so lucky at times today. Cyril Desprez crashed, but so did PG Lundmark. The Swedish hero had a terrible crash some 20 kilometres into the stage, and initial tests and reports have said that he's got a broken wrist and more painfully so, a dislocated shoulder. Poor PG Lundmark on the production machine, so close and yet so far. America's Jimmy Lewis on another BMW having a good day. Lewis continuing on, and third position for him, some 4 minutes back. Jean Brucy was fourth, Kari Tiernan was fifth. But so far as the German BMWs were concerned, they were up there towards Dakar, after, of course, the loss of Juan Roma on the halfway point. Donkeys in the way for Britain's John Deacon. Deacon was sixth, 5.5 minutes back. But really only a short stage today, some 2.5 hours, the time taken for Giovanni Sala. Through the villages they sped. And the local population was just not interested at times. Here Hubert Auriol saying, well, we have to do everything on the Dakar, and unfortunately the finish has been positioned in the wrong place today, so I'm going to do it myself. He gets his watch out, and he times the riders coming in on the finish. Arcaron's on the right, Mioni in the middle. And Mioni, just those few more kilometers to go. His son was there, his wife as well, flown in from Europe. Jordi Arcaron's a warm pat on the back and an emotional family moment. Sala victorious, 2 hours and 28 minutes dead. Depre a little bit more. Lewis, Brucy and Tiernan. Good for Lewis's morale to be in third after his injured wrists earlier in the rally. However, Mioni still holds that overall lead of 25 minutes from Arcaron, Stugavado, Puyol and Cox. Fabrizio Mioni here telling us at the finish, well, this victory here with my family, well, it's wonderful. With Helena, my wife, and Joel, my son, and all the time that I take away from them, this victory pays all our sacrifices and pains that we have taken to arrive at this moment. Cyril Depre here saying, I was here just to learn, and today I had to pass my exam to know if I was able to lead from the front. I succeeded, and that was a great moment for 70 kilometers. But I did make a mistake in the village, but I saw it immediately. It's a good experience, and now I want to come back next year and do it all again.
Et vite que le Dakar prochain soit là pour que je refasse la même chose.
So then, Fabrizio Mioni on the right. He's done 10 Dakars, 2 podiums, a third and a second. But the battle with Jordi Arcarons, who's doing his 13th Dakar, he's also had podiums, but more. 5 podiums, 2 thirds and 3 seconds. Back in 92, Mioni was 12th, but it was a third for Arcarons. In 1993, Mioni retired, but Arcarons was third. In 94, the Paris-Dakar went to Dakar and then back to Paris. But the last stage between Orioli and Arcarons, there was just 1 minute between them. In the end, Orioli was victorious, Arcarons second, Mioni third. In 1995 and 1996, Arcarons was second both years, whilst Mioni was fourth and 38th. Mioni was unlucky after he broke his arm, but it was also a black year as Arcarons hit a dog in 97 and was out on the stage from Timbuktu to Neymar. In 98, Mioni was second and Arcarons was sixth. In 99, Mioni retired on the very last stage, right on the sand of the Dakar beach. And last year, an engine blew for Arcarons, but it was a crash for Mioni that put them both out. This year, though, well, it's Mioni's turn to be victorious. He leads 25 minutes ahead of Arcarons. Today's final stage, day 20 of the 23rd Dakar. A small loop with a short road section of 35 kilometres to Lac Rose. where there was a 25-kilometer stage, and then the 35 clicks back to base. Well, the motorbike started first, and even though they were on the seaside, there was no time to make a sandcastle. Everybody's spirits had been lifted once they had arrived in Dakar the previous day, but for some the nerves were just a little too much. John Deacon had a black eye after hitting a bird on yesterday's stage, whilst elsewhere there was a bit of tomfoolery. A group photo for all of the school leavers. But then finally, Hubert Auriol, a winner in the motorcycle and in the car sections on the Dakar, gave the flair, and it was a free-for-all to the finish. A blast down the beach was initially led by Cyril Desprez, with Giovanni Sala up front. Likewise, America's Jimmy Lewis on his BMW going for a stage win and cutting corners all he could. Lewis was really hammering it out ahead of Sala and Deacon. Kari Tiernan was reveling in the fact that he had won 3 stages already on the Dakar. Could he win a 4th? It was certainly not for the lack of trying. Lewis was caught by Tiernan. Tiernan buoyed by the fact that his friend and fellow countryman Mackinnon was doing well elsewhere. Alfie Cox was doing well as well, eventually finished 8th on the stage. On board with Mioni though, he says, I go slowly, but it seems difficult. Mioni, of course, remembering the fact that 2 years ago, the engine broke at this very point. He says that the last few kilometers are very, very long. I must concentrate, but likewise I must go slowly. An accident can happen so quickly. Josef Machacek was the leading quad home, and likewise Bernardo Villa was the leading production bike home. He had more than 1 horsepower. Other people had a bad day at the office, but they were soon back on their feet. But by the time they got to the finish, it was Giovanni Sala who actually was equal first on the stage with Kari Tiernan. Not a good day for Jimmy Lewis. Can you believe it? He fell in the last 100 meters of a 10,000 kilometer event. And here is Mioni winning the 2001 Dakar.
Le premier au classement général, Fabrizio Mioni sur une KTM. Forza Italia!
Forza Italia indeed. Mioni on the podium with all of the KTM crew. It was a KTM 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. The leading BMW home was John Deacon, and the leading amateur and the winner of the Yakko Club, Johnny Campbell. Fernando Villa also up there for winning the production class. But it was Mioni's day, Mioni's rally. Sala level pegging with Kari Tiernan. Abidjou for France in 3rd, John Deacon and Mioni. Overall though, Mioni's advantage was eventually 25 minutes over Spaniard Jordi Arcaron's, Dugavado, Esteve Puyol and Cox.
Mioni
here saying
giornata particolare, ancora
a very, very special day for me. I just don't realize everything at the moment, but all of the sacrifices during all of these years are now being paid back to me. When all these sacrifices come together, it's a great joy. And today, I just can't believe that I've won. We have to wait a little time for that. I'm just going to have to wait.
Es difícil.
Jordi Arcaron's second position for the Spaniard, saying, it's difficult to explain my state of mind. I worked hard for KTM in the past, and this year I give them my victory. It's a sacrifice because I thought it was possible for me to win, but it's a great happiness to see KTM with 5 riders in the first 5 places in this event.
Un segundo puesto para mí también es una victoria y soy un hombre feliz.
Fernando Villa, the winner of the marathon production class, saying the Dakar is over, but it was a very good one. There were 2 parts, a good one and a not so good one. I succeeded to be in the top 10, but this was very difficult with my bike, which is good, reliable, but also very old. I'm very satisfied of this result with the help of my mechanics and all who helped during the rally. My team was okay, and they were one important key in my success. I thank them to let me win the marathon class. It's my biggest joy in the Dakar to be ahead and to win.
Para conseguir este top 10 e sobretudo para vencer a classe maratona, que é realmente a melhor alegria que eu tive durante todo o Dakar, foi andar à frente da classe e conseguir ganhá-la.